Hey warriors, your mind wasn't supposed to feel this heavy. Somewhere between childhood and now, it became a storage unit for everything nobody else wanted to carry. Expectations that were never yours, standards you never agreed to, fears borrowed from people who were scared themselves, voices that keep talking even though they stopped making sense years ago. And the worst part? Most people walk around thinking this is just how it is. That mental chaos is the price of being alive. That peace is something you only get on vacation, or after retirement, or maybe never. But watch a child for 5 minutes. They're fully here, completely absorbed in what's right in front of them. They're not replaying yesterday or rehearsing tomorrow. They're just present, focused, clear. What happened between then and now? Life got loud, the world got faster, and nobody taught us how to filter the noise. So now there's a constant stream running through the mind. Worries about things that might never happen. Regrets about things that can't be changed. Comparisons to people living completely different lives. Judgments that aren't even based on reality. It's like trying to watch a movie while someone's flipping through every channel at once. Here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Most of what's happening in the mind isn't actually thinking. It's just recycling. The same thoughts on repeat, the same loops, the same patterns, different day, same mental playlist. Real thinking is intentional, it's focused, it creates something. But toxic thoughts, they just consume, they drain energy without producing anything useful. They're mental junk food, filling but never nourishing. Marcus Aurelius wrote something powerful. Our life is what our thoughts make it, not our circumstances, not what happens to us. Our thoughts, which means if the thoughts are toxic, life feels toxic. If the thoughts are clear, life becomes clearer. This isn't about positive thinking or pretending problems don't exist. It's about recognizing that most suffering happens between the ears, not out in the world. The event happens once. But the mind? It'll replay that event 100 times, adding commentary, making it worse, turning a moment into a lifetime of pain. So, here's what's happening right now. This isn't another video telling people to just think positive or let it go, without showing how this is about the actual mechanics of clearing mental space. The real techniques that work when thoughts are spinning out of control at 2 in the morning. If this is landing, hit that like button. Share this with someone who's been stuck in their head lately. Subscribe to this channel because this community is learning to think clearly in a world designed to keep minds scattered and don't skip ahead. If you're ready to reclaim your mental space and take back control, write this powerful declaration in the comments right now. Clear mind, focused life. Number 1. The thought isn't the problem. The belief in it is. Here's where most people get it wrong. They think the goal is to stop having negative thoughts, to somehow achieve this perfect mental state where only good thoughts appear. That's not just unrealistic, it's impossible. The human brain produces thousands of thoughts per day. Some estimates say up to 60,000. Most of them, complete nonsense, random, meaningless, like mental static. Did anyone else think that sounded weird? Why did they look at me like that? What if everything falls apart? Maybe everyone secretly hates me. These thoughts just appear like pop-up ads in the mind. And here's the key. Having the thought doesn't mean anything. It's just a thought. It has exactly as much power as someone gives it. The problem starts when there's belief. When the thought shows up, and instead of letting it pass through, there's this moment of, oh no, this must be true. This must mean something about me. That's when the thought becomes toxic. That's when it starts poisoning everything. Think of it like this. Imagine standing by a river. Thoughts are like leaves floating by on the water. Some leaves are pretty, some are ugly, some are interesting, most are boring, but they're all just floating past. They keep moving unless someone reaches in and grabs one. That's belief. Reaching into the river, grabbing a leaf, and holding on to it. This leaf is mine now. This leaf defines me. This leaf is the truth about who I am. Meanwhile, 1,000 other leaves keep floating by, but they're invisible now because all the focus is on this one leaf, this one thought, this one story about being not enough or too much or broken or behind. Epictetus taught something radical. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And that includes thoughts. A thought happens, it appears, but the reaction to it, that's where freedom lives or dies. So, when a thought shows up, especially the harsh ones, the cruel ones, the catastrophic ones, there's a choice point, a split second, where it's possible to either grab onto it or let it pass. Most people don't even know that choice exists. They think thought appears, therefore thought is true, therefore thought must be analyzed and believed and acted upon, automatic, unconscious, exhausting. But once there's awareness of that choice point, everything changes. Oh, there's a thought saying, I'm a failure. Interesting. Is that actually true, or is that just fear talking? Is there evidence for this, or is this just an old pattern running on autopilot? That little bit of space, that pause between thought and belief, that's where freedom lives. Here's a practical way to practice this. When a toxic thought appears, instead of immediately believing it, just label it. That's a worry thought. That's a comparison thought. That's a fear thought. That's a shame spiral starting. Labeling creates distance. It reminds the mind, this is just one thought among thousands. It's not the absolute truth. It's not the final word. It's just a thought. And thoughts, when they're not fed with belief and attention and energy, they fade. They lose their grip. They become what they actually are. Temporary mental events that come and go like weather. Type this affirmation below and let it be your anchor when thoughts try to pull you under. Thoughts pass, I remain. Number 2, the mind follows where attention leads. There's a spotlight in the mind. Right now, it's pointed at something. Maybe it's these words. Maybe it's a worry lurking in the background. Maybe it's a memory that won't stop replaying. Whatever that spotlight touches becomes the entire world for that moment. Here's what most people don't realize. That spotlight. It can be moved, intentionally, on purpose. It doesn't just randomly land on things, though it feels that way when it's untrained. The mind is like a puppy. Left to its own devices, it'll chase every squirrel, bark at every shadow, and dig holes in places it shouldn't. But with training, with consistency, it learns where to focus and where not to waste energy. Toxic thoughts thrive in the dark corners where attention lingers too long. That embarrassing moment from 3 years ago. It only has power because the spotlight keeps returning to it. That worry about what might go wrong next month. It grows bigger every time attention feeds it. But here's the flip side. Whatever receives consistent attention grows stronger. Focus on problems, and problems multiply. Focus on gratitude, and suddenly there's more to be grateful for, not because reality changed, because perception shifted. The Stoics called this guarding the mind. Seneca wrote, "The mind that is anxious about future events is miserable." He wasn't saying don't plan for the future, he was saying don't give attention to imaginary disasters that haven't happened and probably never will. So how does this actually work? How does someone move the spotlight when toxic thoughts feel so magnetic, so demanding, so impossible to ignore? Start small. Right now, wherever anyone is reading or listening to this, notice 5 things in the immediate surroundings. Actually see them. The color of a wall, the texture of fabric, the way light hits a surface, a sound in the background, the feeling of breath moving in and out. That's attention being redirected. That's the spotlight being moved from whatever mental loop was running to what's actually happening in this moment. And in this moment, right now, things are usually okay. Not perfect, but okay. The toxic thoughts live in past and future. Why did that happen? What if this goes wrong? They can't survive in the present moment because the present moment is just what is no story, no drama, just reality, plain and simple. This doesn't mean ignoring real problems. It means not giving attention to mental fiction. If there's a real problem that needs solving, attention should go there. But focused, clear attention that leads to action. Not the scattered, anxious attention that just spins in circles. Here's a practice that actually works. When the mind starts spiraling, ask one question: what needs my attention right now? Not in an hour, not tomorrow, right now. Usually the answer is simple: a task, a conversation, a meal, a breath, something real and present. And when attention goes there, fully, completely, the toxic thoughts lose their fuel. They're still there, maybe, but they're background noise instead of the main event. Number 3. Motion breaks mental stagnation. The body and mind aren't separate. They're connected in ways that run deeper than most people realize. When the body is stuck, stagnant, frozen, the mind follows. When the body moves, the mind shifts too. Ever notice how toxic thoughts get louder when sitting still, late at night, lying in bed, and suddenly the mind becomes a courtroom where every mistake is being prosecuted? Or sitting at a desk, staring at a screen, and the inner critic starts its daily performance review. But take a walk. Suddenly thoughts start flowing differently. They're less sticky, less intense. The rhythm of movement creates a rhythm in thinking. Problems that seemed impossible start having solutions. Emotions that felt permanent start shifting. This isn't coincidence, it's biology. Movement changes brain chemistry. It releases tension stored in muscles. It interrupts the feedback loops that keep toxic thoughts circling. When the body is in motion, the mind can't stay stuck in the same groove. The ancient Stoics knew this. They didn't just sit around thinking all day, they walked, they trained, they engaged physically with the world. Aristotle taught while walking. The Stoics practiced wrestling and physical discipline. They understood that philosophy without physical practice was just theory. Here's what this looks like in real life. When anxiety starts building, when thoughts start racing, when the mind feels like it's going to explode, move. Not aggressively, not frantically, just move. Stand up, stretch, walk to another room, step outside for 2 minutes. Do 10 jumping jacks, shake out the arms and legs, dance to one song, anything that gets the body out of its frozen state. Because here's what happens. The body sends signals to the brain. We're moving. We must not be in immediate danger. We can calm down now. It's like hitting a reset button on the nervous system. And it's not just about exercise. It's about breaking physical patterns that reinforce mental patterns. Someone always spirals while lying in bed. Don't try to think their way out while lying in bed. Get up. Change locations. Change positions. The mental pattern is tied to the physical pattern, and changing one helps change the other. There's also something powerful about using the body to express what the mind is holding. Feeling angry? Push against a wall with full force for 30 seconds. Feeling sad? Let the shoulders drop. Let the chest cave in. Really feel it physically. Then deliberately stand tall. Open the chest. Lift the head. The body position shifts the emotional state. This isn't about ignoring feelings. It's about not letting them trap the whole system in stagnation. Emotions want to move through. That's why they're called emotions, energy in motion. But when the body is still, emotions get stuck. They pool, they become toxic. Think about animals. When a deer escapes a predator, it doesn't just stop and go back to grazing. It shakes, literally trembles and shakes to release the stress hormones and trauma from its system. Then it goes back to grazing. Humans? Someone has a stressful experience and then sits at a desk for 8 hours, holding it all in, wondering why anxiety won't leave. The body never got to complete the stress cycle. The energy never got to move through. So, here's the practice. When toxic thoughts are taking over, ask the body what it needs. Does it need to stretch, to walk, to run, to shake, to breathe deeply, to cry, to laugh? And then let it. Give the body permission to move, to release, to express, not performing for anyone, not trying to look a certain way, just letting the physical system do what it naturally wants to do. Discharge stuck energy and return to balance. The mind will follow. It always does. Number 4. What enters the mind shapes what exits it. The mind is permeable. It absorbs. Everything that comes in leaves a residue, changes the chemistry, shifts the landscape. And most people are letting absolutely anything walk through the front door. Wake up, grab the phone, scroll through highlight reels of lives that aren't real, read about disasters happening across the world, absorb opinions from strangers who are angry about everything, listen to songs about heartbreak and betrayal, watch shows filled with violence and chaos, then wonder why the mind feels anxious, scattered and dark. It's not a mystery, it's input and output. Feed the mind poison, get poisoned thoughts. Feed it chaos, get chaotic thinking. Feed it comparison, get feelings of inadequacy. The mind doesn't have an automatic immune system that filters out toxicity. It takes in whatever it's exposed to and tries to make sense of it. And when it's constantly exposed to negativity, even if it's quiet, even if it feels harmless, that negativity becomes the default setting. Think about walking into a room that smells like smoke. At first, it's obvious and unpleasant, but stay there long enough, you stop noticing it. The nose adapts. The same thing happens to the mind. Constant exposure to toxic content becomes normal. Background noise, barely noticeable, but still there, still influencing mood, still shaping thoughts. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts." He understood that what enters shapes what becomes. The mind isn't separate from what it consumes. It becomes what it consumes. So what does protecting mental input actually look like? It means becoming selective, intentional, almost ruthless about what gets access. Maybe that means not checking the phone first thing in the morning, starting the day with silence or music or movement instead of immediately downloading everyone else's chaos into a fresh mind. Maybe it means unfollowing accounts that spark envy or insecurity, even if they're popular, even if everyone else follows them. The mind doesn't need to see perfectly curated lives that make real life feel small. Maybe it means limiting news consumption. Staying informed is one thing. Refreshing feeds about every terrible thing happening everywhere is another. The mind was never designed to carry the weight of global suffering 24/7. It collapses under that load. Maybe it means being selective with conversations. Some people drain life. They complain endlessly, create drama, and pull others into their negativity. And while compassion matters, there's a difference between supporting someone and becoming a dumping ground for their emotional pollution. Maybe it means curating what plays in the background, the music, the podcasts, the shows. If it's filling your mental space with darkness, anger, or fear, even unconsciously, it's shaping your thoughts in those directions. This isn't about living in a bubble or pretending negativity doesn't exist. It's about recognizing that attention and mental space are limited resources. They're precious, and giving them away carelessly to whatever screams loudest turns the mind into a battleground instead of a sanctuary. The Stoics practiced this carefully. Seneca advised, "Avoid what corrupts the character, not just actions, influences." He understood that being around certain people, consuming certain content, exposing the mind to certain energies, inevitably shapes thinking and behavior. Here's a practical step. For 1 week, track what you consume. Every scroll session, every show, every conversation, every song. Then, at the end of the week, notice the patterns. How does the mind feel after each input? Lighter or heavier? Clearer or more confused? Energized or drained? Then make cuts. Quiet, clean, ruthless cuts. If something consistently leaves the mind worse than it found it, remove it, unfollow, unsubscribe, delete, walk away. No guilt, no apology. Protecting your mental health isn't rude, it's survival, and start adding better inputs. Things that inspire, that teach, that calm, that strengthen, books that expand you, music that lifts you, people who bring out the best in you, content that leaves the mind feeling more capable, not more broken. The mind will resist at first. It's used to the junk food, it's addicted to the drama, but feed it quality consistently and the cravings for toxicity fade. New patterns form, new defaults take shape. If you're committed to becoming the gatekeeper of your own mind, prove it by leaving this affirmation below: I protect what I consume. Number 5. Clarity comes from closing open loops. The mind keeps lists, invisible lists of unfinished business, things left unsaid, decisions not made, conflicts unresolved, projects half done, promises unkept, especially promises to oneself, and every single item on those lists takes up mental RAM. Like a computer with too many programs running in the background, the mind slows down, gets foggy, feels overwhelmed even when nothing urgent is happening, because there are 50 things quietly demanding attention underneath the surface. Toxic thoughts love open loops. They feed on them. That conversation that ended badly 3 months ago, still unresolved, so the mind keeps replaying it, trying different outcomes, creating imaginary versions of what should have been said, that decision that keeps getting postponed. The mind keeps circling back to it, weighing options, creating anxiety about choosing wrong. These open loops create mental clutter that makes focus impossible. It's like trying to watch a movie while someone keeps pausing it to remind about things that need doing. Can't be present, can't be clear, can't think straight, because the mind is juggling too much unfinished business. Epictetus taught about distinguishing between what's in our control and what isn't, but then actually following through on what is controllable, not just acknowledging it, acting on it, completing the loop. So what does closing loops actually look like? It starts with making the invisible visible, writing down everything that's creating mental noise, every unfinished task, every unmade decision, every unresolved situation. Getting it out of the head and onto paper where it can be seen clearly. Then comes the hard part, taking action or making a decision, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's not perfect, because an imperfect decision that closes a loop creates more mental space than perfect indecision that leaves it open. That difficult conversation that's been avoided, schedule it, have it, close the loop. Even if it doesn't go perfectly, at least it's no longer hanging in mental limbo, creating anxiety every time that person's name comes up. That project that's been half finished for months, either commit to a deadline and finish it, or consciously decide to abandon it and stop feeling guilty. Both options close the loop. Leaving it in perpetual someday drains energy without creating anything. That apology that needs to be made, make it that boundary that needs to be set. Set it. That thing that needs to be said, say it. Each one closes a loop and frees up mental space. Sometimes closing a loop means accepting that something can't be resolved. A relationship that ended badly and the other person won't communicate. The loop can still be closed internally. I did what I could. This is beyond my control, now I'm letting it go. That's closure. Not perfect, but complete enough to stop the mental drain. The mind craves completion. It's wired to want resolution. That's why unfinished loops are so torturous. They go against the mind's natural desire for order and closure. But when loops get closed, even in small ways, there's an immediate sense of relief, lightness, clarity. Here's a practice. Every evening before sleep, close at least one small loop. Respond to that message. Put away that item that's been sitting out for days. Make that appointment. Complete that tiny task. Just one. Build the habit of completion instead of accumulation. And for the bigger loops, the ones that feel impossible to close, break them down. What's one small action that moves toward closure? Not the whole thing, just the next step. Then take it, then take the next one. Momentum builds, progress happens, loops close. The mental freedom that comes from this is profound. Suddenly there's space to think, to focus, to be present, because the background noise of 50 unfinished things demanding attention has quieted. The mind can finally rest. If you're done leaving things unfinished and ready to close those mental loops, declare it by commenting, "I finish what I start." Number 6. The stories being told create the reality being lived. Every single person is walking around with a narrator in their head, a voice telling stories about what everything means, what that look meant, what that situation says about the future, what that mistake reveals about character, what other people are thinking, what's possible and what isn't. And here's the thing, that narrator is making most of it up, not lying exactly, but interpreting, filling in gaps, creating meaning where there might not be any, turning neutral events into personal dramas, taking one data point and building an entire narrative around it. Someone doesn't text back. The narrator says, they're upset, they don't care anymore, this relationship is falling apart. Reality, maybe their phone died, maybe they're busy, maybe they forgot. But the story has already been written, believed, and reacted to. A project doesn't go perfectly. The narrator says, this is proof of inadequacy. Everyone's going to see this failure. This confirms what was always suspected, not good enough. Reality. It's one project, one outcome, one moment in thousands. But the story expands it into an identity. These stories, these narratives the mind creates, they shape everything. How situations are interpreted, how emotions are felt, what actions are taken or avoided, what becomes possible or impossible. The story being told becomes the life being lived. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." He knew that the mind doesn't experience reality directly. It experiences its interpretation of reality, and that interpretation is just a story. So, what happens when the stories being told are toxic? When the narrator is harsh, catastrophic, always assuming the worst? When every situation gets interpreted through a lens of fear or shame or inadequacy? Life becomes toxic, not because reality is toxic, but because the story about reality is toxic and the mind can't tell the difference. It responds to the story as if it's absolute truth. But here's the powerful part. If stories are being made up anyway, why not make up better ones? Not delusional stories that ignore reality, but fairer ones, more accurate ones. Stories that leave room for possibility instead of closing every door. Someone doesn't text back. New story. They'll respond when they can. This doesn't mean anything about how they feel. Neutral. Fair. Doesn't create unnecessary suffering. A project doesn't go perfectly. New story. This is feedback. This shows what to adjust. This is how learning happens. Constructive. Growth-oriented. Doesn't collapse an outcome into an identity. This isn't about forced positivity. It's about catching the stories being told and asking, is this the only way to interpret this? Is this story serving growth or feeding toxicity? Is this narrative based on facts or assumptions? Most toxic thoughts are built on stories filled with assumptions. Mind reading, they definitely think less of me now. Fortune telling, this is never going to work out. Labeling, I'm just broken. These aren't facts, they're narratives, and they can be questioned. The Stoic practice was to separate impression from judgment. Something happens, that's the impression, then comes the judgment, the story about what it means, and that's where freedom lives. In the space between what happened and the story being told about what happened. Here's how to practice this. When a toxic thought appears, write down the story it's telling. Then write down just the facts, what actually objectively happened without any interpretation. The difference is usually massive. Story, I'm a complete failure and everyone sees it. Facts, one project didn't meet expectations. Story, nobody cares about me. Facts, 3 people didn't respond to messages today. Story, my life is falling apart. Facts, 3 difficult things happened this week. See the gap? The story is expansive, dramatic, absolute. The facts are specific, limited, manageable. And when attention shifts from story to facts, the emotional intensity drops, not because feelings are being denied, but because the narrative feeding them has been challenged. Then comes the choice. What story would be more fair, more accurate, more useful? Not a fantasy story, a better interpretation of the same facts. One project didn't meet expectations, which means there's room to learn and adjust for the next one. 3 people didn't respond today, which is normal. People get busy. It doesn't reflect their feelings about me. 3 difficult things happened this week, which is challenging. And also, I'm still here, still handling it, still moving forward. These aren't lies. They're just different stories, fairer ones. And when the story changes, the mental and emotional experience changes too. The narrator in the mind will never shut up completely, but it can be trained. It can learn to tell stories that open doors instead of slamming them, stories that create possibility instead of prison, stories worth living inside. Number 7. Mental space expands when physical space clears. The environment matters more than most people admit, not in some mystical way, but in a completely practical one. The space someone lives in, works in, spends time in, it affects the mind constantly. Walk into a room that's cluttered, messy, chaotic. Notice what happens internally. The mind mirrors it, feels scattered, overwhelmed, unfocused. There's a weight to physical disorder that translates directly into mental disorder. Now walk into a clean, clear, organized space. The mind settles, breathing deepens, focus sharpens. There's a sense of calm that comes from external order that the internal world responds to immediately. This isn't about perfectionism or having a magazine-worthy space. It's about recognizing that the mind is constantly processing the environment, consciously and unconsciously, and when the environment is chaotic, the mind expends energy just trying to manage the sensory overload. The Stoics lived simply, not because they couldn't afford more, but because they understood that excess creates distraction. Seneca wrote about how possessions end up possessing their owners. How accumulating more doesn't bring peace, it brings maintenance, worry, attachment. When physical space is cluttered, the mind is too. Every item that doesn't have a place, every pile that keeps growing, every surface covered with stuff, it's all creating tiny mental pulls. That needs to be dealt with. This should be organized. That's been sitting there for weeks. Those pulls add up. They create a constant low-level stress that might not be obvious, but is always there, draining energy, fragmenting attention. So, what does clearing physical space actually do for mental space? It removes decision fatigue. In a cluttered environment, the mind is constantly making micro-decisions. Should I move that? Where does this go? Why is that there? Even when those decisions aren't being made consciously, the brain is processing the disorder. Clear the space, and those decisions disappear. The mind has fewer inputs to process, fewer problems to solve, fewer things demanding attention. It's like closing 20 browser tabs at once. Suddenly, everything runs smoother. It also removes visual reminders of incompletion. That pile of papers? It's a reminder of tasks undone, those clothes on the floor. A reminder of things not being in order, those dishes in the sink. A reminder that something needs attention. Each one is an open loop creating mental weight. Here's what clearing space looks like practically. Start small, not the entire house. One drawer, one corner, one surface. Clear it completely. Organize it. Make it clean. Then notice how that one cleared space affects the mind. There's satisfaction in it. A sense of accomplishment. Visual proof that order is possible. And that small win creates momentum for the next space and the next. For areas used daily, the workspace, the bedroom, keep them minimal. Only what's needed and what genuinely adds value. Everything else is just visual noise competing for mental attention. And here's something interesting. The act of clearing physical space often clears mental space simultaneously. There's something meditative about organizing, cleaning, putting things in order. The hands are busy, which quiets the racing mind. The focus is on a simple, tangible task, which breaks the cycle of abstract worrying. It's why some people clean when they're stressed. Not just to have a clean space, but because the process itself is calming. It gives the mind something concrete to focus on while emotions process in the background. The environment also includes digital space. The phone, the computer, the inbox with 10,000 unread emails, the desktop covered in files, the apps sending constant notifications. All of it creates mental clutter, just like physical clutter does. Clear the digital space too. Uninstall apps that aren't being used. Delete old files. Organize what remains. Turn off notifications that aren't essential. Create boundaries around when and how devices are used. The mind craves simplicity. It functions best in environments that support focus rather than fracture it. And while it's impossible to control every environment, the spaces that can be controlled, home, workspace, digital devices, those matter deeply. Clear the space, clear the mind. It's that direct, that immediate, that powerful. If you're ready to create an environment that supports your mental clarity instead of sabotaging it, commit by typing clear space, clear mind. Number 8. Resistance feeds what it fights. Here's a paradox that trips up almost everyone. The harder someone fights against a toxic thought, the stronger it becomes. Push it away and it pushes back harder. Try to suppress it and it shows up louder. Resist it with everything and it takes over completely. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. Takes constant effort, constant attention, constant energy. And the moment there's any relaxation, it explodes back to the surface with even more force. That's what happens with toxic thoughts when they're met with resistance. I shouldn't think this. This thought is bad. I need to make this stop right now. All that resistance. It's just giving the thought more energy, more importance, more power. The mind doesn't work through force, it works through awareness. Fighting a thought keeps attention locked on that thought, and attention is food. Whatever gets attention grows. So, fighting toxic thoughts is actually feeding them while trying to starve them. No wonder it doesn't work. Carl Jung said, "What you resist persists." The Stoics understood this in their own way. They didn't teach suppression. They taught acceptance of what is, combined with wise action toward what could be. Accept the thought exists. Don't give it power through resistance. Then choose a different direction. Think about physical pain. When someone tenses up against pain, it gets worse. The muscles contract, blood flow restricts, the nervous system amplifies the signal. But when someone breathes into the pain, relaxes around it, accepts it without fighting it, often the pain lessens, not because it's gone, but because resistance isn't multiplying it. Same with mental pain, same with toxic thoughts. They appear. That's just what minds do. But the suffering doesn't come from the thought itself. It comes from the war being waged against the thought. I can't believe I'm thinking this again. What's wrong with me? Why can't I just stop? This is pathetic. I'm pathetic for having this thought. Now there's not just one toxic thought. There's a whole spiral of toxic thoughts about having the toxic thought. The resistance created more of what it was trying to eliminate. So, what's the alternative? Acceptance. Not agreement, not approval, just acceptance that the thought is there. Okay, there's that anxious thought again. It showed up. Makes sense given the circumstances. It's just a thought, though. It doesn't control me. It doesn't define me. It's just passing through. No fight, no drama, just acknowledgement. And when there's no resistance to push against, the thought has nowhere to go. It appears, gets noticed, and then fades. Because it's not getting the reaction it needs to stick around. This is what the Stoics called objective representation. See things as they actually are, not as worse than they are. A toxic thought appears. It's just neurons firing in a pattern. It's just mental activity. It's not a truth. It's not a command. It's not an identity. It's just a thought. Here's a practice that works. When a toxic thought shows up, instead of fighting it, get curious about it. Interesting. Where did that come from? What triggered that? What is this thought trying to protect me from? Curiosity dissolves resistance. Can't be at war with something while genuinely curious about it, and often underneath toxic thoughts are legitimate concerns or unmet needs trying to get attention in the only way they know how. The anxious thought about the future? Maybe it's pointing to something that actually does need planning or preparation. Address that practical need, and the thought often quiets. The self-critical thought. Maybe it's an internalized voice from childhood that learned criticism equals safety. Understanding that context takes away its power. The thought doesn't have to be destroyed. It just has to be seen clearly. And when it's seen clearly, without resistance, without making it bigger than it is, it naturally loses intensity. The beach ball can float on the surface. It doesn't have to be underwater. It doesn't have to be thrown away. It can just be there. Neutral, not a threat, just an object in the water. Number 9. Consistency shapes destiny more than intensity. Everyone wants the dramatic moment, the breakthrough, the one powerful experience that changes everything forever. And sometimes those moments happen, but they're not what creates lasting change. They're not what builds a mind that stays clear and focused through difficulty. What builds that? Small actions, repeated daily, over weeks, over months, over years. Consistency. Someone can have the most profound insight about toxic thoughts while watching a video like this, can feel completely transformed, completely clear, ready to take on the world. And then, 2 days later, back to the same patterns, same loops, same mental chaos. Because one moment of clarity doesn't reprogram years of conditioning. One powerful experience doesn't override thousands of hours of practiced mental habits. Transformation isn't an event, it's a process, and processes require repetition. The Stoics knew this deeply. They didn't just study philosophy once and call it done. They practiced daily. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journals every single day, working through his thoughts, reminding himself of principles, redirecting his mind toward wisdom. Epictetus taught his students through constant repetition, knowing that understanding something once doesn't mean it's integrated. Think about learning any skill. Playing an instrument, speaking a language, building strength. Nobody practices once intensely and becomes a master. It's the daily practice, even when it's boring, even when progress isn't obvious, even when motivation is low, that creates real capability. Mental clarity works the same way. It's built through consistent practice, not intense effort followed by neglect. What does consistency look like here? It's choosing 1 or 2 practices from everything shared in this video and doing them daily, not perfectly, not intensely, just consistently. Maybe it's taking 2 minutes every morning to notice and release toxic thoughts before they build momentum every single morning, even when running late, even when it feels unnecessary, especially then. Maybe it's the evening practice of closing 1 open loop before sleep every night. Just 1. Building the habit of completion instead of accumulation. Maybe it's the moment a toxic thought appears, pausing to label it instead of believing it every time. That's a worry thought. That's a comparison thought. Building the habit of awareness instead of automaticity. These practices seem small, almost too small to matter, but that's exactly why they work. They're sustainable. They don't require massive willpower or perfect conditions. They just require showing up, even in the smallest way, consistently. There's a concept in behavior change, the aggregation of marginal gains. Small improvements, 1% better, compounded over time, create massive results. Not because any single day is transformative, but because the direction is consistent and the accumulation is powerful. 1 day of mental clarity practice. Barely noticeable. 30 days. There's a shift. 90 days. The mind operates differently. A year. It's a completely different mental landscape. Not because of one intense breakthrough, but because of small, repeated choices that became patterns, that became a new way of being. The mind learns through repetition. Neural pathways strengthen with use. What gets practiced becomes automatic. So practicing toxic thought patterns daily creates a mind ruled by toxicity. Practicing clarity daily creates a mind that defaults to clarity. It's simple, not easy, but simple. Show up. Practice. Repeat. Trust the process even when results aren't immediate, especially when results aren't immediate. Because intensity burns out, consistency builds. And the goal isn't to have one perfect day where the mind is completely clear. The goal is to have 1,000 imperfect days where the mind gets slightly better at managing itself, slowly building toward a life where focus and peace are the baseline instead of the exception. So here's where everything lands. There are 1,000 techniques for clearing the mind, hundreds of philosophies, endless advice, but none of it matters without one thing: the decision that this matters enough to actually do something about it. Not just wanting a clear mind, Not just wishing toxic thoughts would disappear, but deciding, really deciding, that mental clarity is worth protecting, worth practicing, worth prioritizing even when it's inconvenient. Because here's the truth: the mind will stay cluttered as long as clutter is tolerated. Toxic thoughts will keep running the show as long as they're given the stage. Focus will remain fractured as long as attention is handed away carelessly to everything that demands it. But the moment there's a genuine decision, this is how I choose to operate now. This is the standard I'm holding for my mental space. This is non-negotiable. Everything shifts, not magically, not instantly, but inevitably. The techniques shared here aren't theoretical, they're practical. They work, but only when applied, only when practiced, only when followed through beyond the first spark of inspiration. Right now, there's a choice. Close this video, feel momentarily inspired, and then fall back into the same mental patterns that brought someone here in the first place. Or take one thing, just one, and implement it today, not tomorrow. Not when life feels easier. Today. Maybe it's noticing one toxic thought and choosing not to believe it. Maybe it's clearing one physical space that's been adding weight to your mind. Maybe it's finally closing one open loop that's been draining energy for weeks. Just one action that proves to your mind, things are different now. We're done tolerating toxicity here. The ancient Stoics didn't just think about wisdom, they lived it. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his meditations to publish a book. He wrote them as daily reminders to himself about who he wanted to be and how he wanted to think. He knew that without constant practice, the mind drifts back to old patterns. Same applies now. This isn't about consuming more information, it's about applying what's already been shared. It's about taking ownership of your mental space and refusing to let it become a dumping ground for every fear, every worry, every toxic pattern that shows up. The mind clears when the choice is made, and it stays clear when that choice is reinforced through daily action. Not perfect action, just consistent, intentional, honest effort to create something better than what existed before this community. Everyone watching, everyone practicing, everyone choosing clarity over chaos. This is where support lives. So if this resonated, hit that like button, drop a comment sharing which truth hit hardest or which practice you're going to implement first. Share this video with someone who's been trapped in their own mind lately, and subscribe, because the conversation continues, the support continues, and growth is always stronger together than alone. The mind is the foundation of everything. When it's clear, life expands. Opportunities appear, relationships deepen, work improves, peace becomes possible, not because the world changed, but because inner clarity created space for everything good that was always there but hidden behind the fog. That clarity is available right now, not someday, not when life is perfect, now, through choice, through practice, through commitment. The toxic thoughts will still show up sometimes. That's human. But they no longer have to run the show. They no longer have to define your experience. They no longer get to steal your focus, your peace, or your potential. A clear mind is possible. A focused life is possible. And it starts with one choice, followed by one action, repeated until it becomes your new normal. One last thing before you go. This is your declaration of independence from toxic thinking. Cement it by commenting one final time. My mind is mine to command. Hey warriors, you're standing in the shower again. Water's hitting your back, steam rising around you, but you're somewhere else entirely. Staring at the tile, counting nothing, thinking everything. And when you finally snap back, the water's gone cold. 20 minutes passed, maybe 30. You're not even sure anymore. Time's doing this weird thing lately where it moves, but you don't. There's a coffee mug on your desk. You poured it yesterday morning, or was it the day before? It doesn't matter. You walk past it like it's invisible, like you're invisible, just going through rooms in your own life like a guest who doesn't quite belong there anymore. Your phone keeps lighting up. Someone texted, someone called, someone sent you a meme probably trying to make you laugh. You see it, you read it, but your thumbs just freeze. What would you even say? I'm good feels like a script you can't memorize anymore. And the truth? The truth is too heavy to type, too much to explain, too exhausting to unpack. So, you don't reply, and the silence grows thicker. This is what losing hope actually looks like. It's not cinematic. There's no orchestra playing while you fall to your knees in the rain. It's quieter than that. Smaller, more ordinary. It's cold coffee and unreturned texts and showers that last too long. It's your alarm going off and you thinking, again, like you're tired of the sun itself. Days stack on top of each other now. Same shape, same weight, same emptiness wearing different dates. You used to have plans, dreams, that thing people call ambition. Now you're just trying to make it to Thursday, and you're not even sure why Thursday. It's just the next thing. The person you used to be feels like someone you knew in high school, someone you grew apart from, someone whose optimism and energy you remember vaguely, like a story someone told you once. That version of you who thought trying hard meant winning, who believed fairness existed, who assumed love and effort were enough. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He was saying that obstacles aren't blocking your path. They are your path. But nobody tells you how that feels when you're empty. When the obstacle is the voice in your own head saying, "What's the point?" It feels like standing in a dark room you can't find the door to, like watching yourself from outside your body, wondering who that person is and why they're still pretending. But listen to me. You clicked on this video. Some part of you hasn't quit. Some small, stubborn, exhausted part is still searching, still hoping that maybe there's something that'll make sense of this, make it bearable, make it worth it. You're not weak for feeling this way. You're human. You're not broken because hope feels impossible. You're in the middle of something that hasn't finished yet. And yeah, it looks like destruction. But sometimes what looks like death is transformation, tearing down what doesn't work, so something true can grow. This video isn't here to sell you positivity you don't believe. It's here to tell you the truth. You're still breathing, and anything that still breathes can rise again. Not today, maybe, not tomorrow, but one stubborn breath at a time. If this is landing, hit that like button, drop a comment, even just, "I am still here, and my story isn't over." Subscribe because we're building a space for people who are surviving when survival is the hardest thing they've ever done. And don't skip any part of this. Every word is here because you need it. Number 1. The pain you feel is building something you can't see yet. When you're drowning in pain, everyone wants to know what you're learning from it, what it's teaching you, how it's making you stronger. And you want to scream because you're not learning anything except how much you can hurt. You're not getting stronger. You're getting destroyed, piece by piece. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." He wasn't minimizing pain. He was stating a fact. The event is one thing. What you build from it is another. Right now, you can't see what's being built because you're still in demolition. Everything you knew about yourself is being torn down. Your assumptions about how life works, your beliefs about fairness and effort, your identity as someone who had it together, all of it crumbling. And everyone's telling you it's for a reason, that there's a purpose. But what if there isn't? What if this is just what happened? random and brutal and unfair. Here's what's still true. You get to decide what you do with it. Not whether it happened, not whether it hurts, but whether you let it make you bitter or make you deeper, whether you let it close you off or break you open. The Japanese repair broken pottery with gold, kintsugi. The gold doesn't hide the cracks, it highlights them. It says, this broke, and that's part of its story now. But that doesn't happen immediately. First comes the breaking, then comes sitting with the pieces. Then comes the careful work of repair. You're in the sitting with the pieces phase. You're not supposed to be beautiful yet. You're not supposed to have it figured out. You're supposed to be exactly where you are, shattered, examining the pieces, trying to understand what just happened. But here's what's also happening. You're learning your own weight. You're discovering what you're actually made of when the performance stops. You're finding out which parts of your identity were real and which were costumes you wore to make others comfortable. Every time you get out of bed when you don't want to, you're building something. Every time you choose to eat when food tastes like nothing, you're building something. It doesn't feel like building. It feels like barely surviving. But surviving is building, when surviving is the hardest thing you can do. The person you're becoming won't be the same as who you were. There'll be someone who knows what it costs to keep going. Someone who understands pain in their bones. Someone who can sit with another person's darkness without trying to fix it, because they know what it's like to be there. You're collecting wisdom, depth, empathy, strength that's been tested in ways people with easy lives can't comprehend. You're becoming someone who doesn't take joy for granted, because you remember when joy seemed impossible. The pain you feel today is the foundation for who you'll be tomorrow. Not because pain is good, but because you're refusing to let it be meaningless. You're choosing to let it transform you instead of destroy you. And that choice? That's the beginning of everything. Leave this affirmation below. My pain is creating my power. Number 2. The people who left revealed what you couldn't see. You keep replaying it. The ones who walked away, the ones who said they'd always be there and then weren't, the ones who made you feel disposable. You think something is fundamentally wrong with you because if you were enough, they would have stayed. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." You're suffering from the story you're telling yourself about what their leaving means. That story says you're unlovable, unworthy, fundamentally flawed. But what if that story is wrong? Here's what you're missing. Their leaving wasn't the tragedy their staying would have been. Your body kills millions of cells every day. Apoptosis, not because they're diseased, because they've served their purpose and now they're in the way of what's trying to grow. If those cells refuse to die, you'd get sick. Death of the old is necessary for health of the new. The people who left were your apoptosis relationships that already served their purpose, but you couldn't see it yet. You were holding on to connections that had expired, because letting go felt like admitting you were wrong about them. Stop rewriting history to make them better than they were. Stop editing out the moments they made you feel small, the times they weren't there when you needed them, the ways they took more than they gave. You're mourning a version of them that mostly existed in your imagination, not who they actually were. Look at what happened when things got hard. Where were they? They revealed something you needed to know. They were there for the good version of you, the successful one, the happy one. But the real you, the struggling you, that version made them uncomfortable, so they left. And that's clarity. That's the universe doing you a favor, even though it feels like punishment. Imagine if you'd spent another 5 years investing in those relationships. Imagine building your whole support system around people who only show up when it's convenient. The emptiness you feel is actually space. Space that was occupied by the wrong people. Space that needed clearing so the right people could find you. The right people don't show up when your life is perfect. They show up now in the mess, in the uncertainty, in the version of you that has nothing to offer except raw, broken honesty. Those are the ones who matter. You're also discovering you're stronger alone than you thought. Every day you keep going without their validation proves you were never as dependent as you feared. There's a difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is feeling empty while attached to the ones who left. Solitude is making peace with your own company, learning you're enough by yourself. The people who left taught you how to stand alone. They taught you that some chapters end abruptly, without closure, and you have to live with the unfinished feeling. Most importantly, they taught you how to recognize the real ones when they show up, because now you know the difference. Stop waiting for them to come back. Stop checking if they're watching your life. Their absence is making room for your real life, for real connections, for people who don't need you to be perfect to decide you're worth knowing. Number 3, your failure wasn't a wrong turn, it was the path. You think you failed because you took the wrong road. You've mapped out all the ways you screwed up, all the alternate versions where you made better choices and ended up somewhere else. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The obstacle isn't blocking your path, it is your path. The thing you think you need to get around is what you need to go through. What if there was no right road? What if the idea that you should have figured it all out perfectly was the actual mistake? Mathematician Benoit Mandelbrot discovered fractals, patterns that look chaotic up closely but reveal perfect structure when you step back. He found them everywhere in nature. Your life is a fractal. What looks like failure right now is part of a pattern you can't see yet because you're too close. Every wrong turn taught you something you needed to know. Every mistake eliminated a path that wasn't meant for you. Every failure was the universe saying, "Not that way, but keep going." You wanted the straight line point A to point B. Clear directions, obvious progress. But life doesn't work like that for people who are supposed to do something real. Something that requires depth and understanding and empathy and strength. Think about what you learned from failing. You learned what you're actually capable of surviving. You learned which ideas had real foundation versus fantasy. You learned what you actually care about versus what you thought you were supposed to want. You learned who you are when the performance stops. The people with straight-line success, they're fragile. They've never been tested. They don't know what they're made of. They're one bad day from collapse because they've never developed the muscles you're building right now. Your failure eliminated paths that would have led to a life that looked good but felt empty. It saved you from climbing a ladder only to discover it was leaning against the wrong wall. But more than that, your failure made you real. Nobody connects with perfection. Nobody is inspired by someone who never struggled. The people who change lives have this in common. They failed hard enough to become humble. They lost enough to become grateful. They struggled enough to become strong. Every person you admire has a private story of defeat that nearly broke them. The difference isn't talent or luck. It's the decision to let failure be a chapter instead of the whole story. To say, "This happened, now what's next?" instead of "I'm done." Your failure isn't a detour, it is your path. The struggles, the setbacks, those are the path. And the person who emerges, that person is exactly who you need to be for what's coming next. Stop trying to fix what happened. It's done. The energy you're spending on regret is energy you need for rebuilding. The mental space you're giving to mistakes is space you need for imagining what's possible from here. Put this in the comments. My failures are my foundation. Number 4. The silence is teaching you a language you've never spoken. Nobody prepared you for this kind of quiet, the suffocating kind, where your phone doesn't ring, opportunities don't come, and the world keeps spinning while you're standing still. You watch people celebrate their wins while you're sitting there with nothing to report except that you're still here. This silence feels like punishment, like you're being ignored by the universe itself. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Real growth happens when you stop performing for the crowd, when you stop needing their validation to know you're moving forward. What if the silence isn't emptiness? What if it's full of something you couldn't hear before because your life was too loud? John Cage wrote a musical piece, 4 minutes 33 seconds, where musicians sit at their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds without playing a note. The point wasn't silence. The point was hearing what was already there. He said, "There is no such thing as silence. Something is always happening that makes a sound." Your life is in a rest right now, not because the music is over, but because this pause is part of the composition. In this pause, you can finally hear things you've been drowning out for years. Your own thoughts without everyone else's opinions. Your actual desires instead of adopted ones. Your real voice underneath all the performing. The silence is stripping away distractions. You can't busy yourself with success. You can't numb yourself with constant achievement. You have to sit with yourself, the real self. The one you've been running from by staying busy. And that self has things to tell you. Things you couldn't hear when your calendar was full and everyone wanted a piece of you. Things about what actually matters, what you actually believe, what you actually want your life to be about when you strip away everything you're supposed to want. Most people go their entire lives without this silence. They fill every gap with noise, with other people's voices, with society's expectations. They die without knowing who they actually were underneath all that. But you don't get that option. The silence found you. You can fight it, resist it, try desperately to fill it, or you can listen to it. Learn from it. Let it teach you things about yourself that you could never learn in the noise. This is where you figure out what you actually think, what you actually feel, what you actually need. The silence is giving you back to yourself. The silence is also teaching you this. You don't need constant validation to exist. You don't need applause to have value. All those years, you measured your worth by how many people were paying attention. You were giving your power away, but in the silence, nobody's watching, and you're still here, still breathing, still valuable, still worthy, not because of what you produce or prove to anyone, but because your existence itself has meaning independent of anyone else's acknowledgement. This is the hardest lesson. You have to learn to be enough for yourself, to validate your own experience, to witness your own life, to know that what you're going through matters even if nobody else sees it. The silence is not your enemy, it's your teacher. It's showing you that you contain entire universes inside you that you never had time to visit because you were too busy trying to exist in everyone else's. Stop trying to escape it. Sit in it. Let it be uncomfortable. Let it be lonely. And in that acceptance, you'll hear something you've been missing, your own voice, telling you who you really are. Share this affirmation below. I am learning to hear myself. Number 5. Your weakness is the crack where your power gets in. You've spent your whole life trying to eliminate your weaknesses, become the strong, unbreakable version that never needs help, never shows vulnerability, never admits something is too hard. And where did that get you? Here, exhausted, alone, pretending to be fine while falling apart inside. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you are distressed by an external thing, It's not the thing itself that troubles you, but only your judgment of it. Your weakness isn't the problem. Your judgment that weakness makes you worthless is the problem. The idea that strength means having no weaknesses is a lie. Every ounce of energy you spend hiding your vulnerable places is energy you're not spending on actually living. The Japanese practice wabi-sabi, finding beauty in imperfection. They see a cracked bowl and see where the light can enter. They understand. Perfection is dead, it's lifeless. Real beauty, real strength comes from the broken places. Your weakness isn't what's wrong with you. It's what's most right about you. It's where you're actually human instead of performing humanity. It's where you connect with other people who are also struggling. It's where your real power lives, if you're brave enough to stop fighting it. Think about when you finally admitted you couldn't do it alone. When you let someone see you struggling instead of showing your highlight reel. What happened? Did you become less? Or did you finally become real? Your weakness is your access point to other people. It's how you build real relationships instead of transactional ones. Nobody trusts perfection. Nobody connects with someone who has no struggles. But more than that, your weakness is where you grow. A bone that breaks and heals is stronger at the breakpoint. Your body doesn't just repair, it overcompensates. It builds extra strength exactly where weakness was exposed. Your spirit works the same way, the thing you're most ashamed of. That's where your next level of strength is trying to emerge. But it can't break through while you're using all your energy to pretend it doesn't exist. Stop comparing your weaknesses to other people's strengths. You're seeing their curated version. Everyone is carrying something heavy. Everyone has a weakness they're terrified to expose. You're not uniquely broken. You're just uniquely honest with yourself right now. And that honesty, that's not weakness. That's the beginning of real strength. The kind that doesn't crumble when tested because it's built on truth. The kind that can say, I need help, without feeling like a failure. Your weakness is the doorway to your authenticity, and your authenticity is the only thing that actually matters. Everything else is performance. Let yourself be weak. Let yourself need help. Let yourself not have all the answers. Let yourself be human in all the messy, complicated ways that means, and watch what happens when you stop using energy to hide and start using it to grow. Write this down in the comments. My weakness is where my truth lives. Number 6. The version of you that's dying needed to die. You're grieving someone, but it's not who you think. You're grieving yourself, the older version of you, the version that existed before everything cracked open. And part of you keeps trying to pull that old self back, as if forcing them to return will make life feel normal again. But they're gone, and they needed to go. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." You're not mourning who you truly were. You're mourning who you thought you were, the image, the performance, the version of you that never fully fit, but felt easier than admitting you were lost. That old identity was shaped for a world that no longer exists, built from beliefs that were too small for who you're becoming. That version said yes when silence would have been wiser, chased approval instead of purpose, lived life from the outside in. Here's the truth. The old you wasn't destroyed. They were outgrown. In nature, some forests require fire to grow. When flames sweep through, it looks like destruction. But beneath the ashes, the soil becomes richer. Seeds that could never open under normal conditions finally crack and bloom only because of the heat. If you walked through that forest mid-fire, you'd think everything was ending. But give it time and it becomes even more alive. That's you. You're in the fire season. You see smoke and think you're losing everything. But the truth is, your soil is being renewed. The seeds inside you, the ones that only open under pressure, are starting to break open. Your dreams needed this fire. Your strength needed this fire. Your next chapter needed this fire. Think of a mirror that has been fogged up for years. Fingerprints, dust, old smudges, streaks from everyone who ever touched it. You look into it and say, "This is who I am," but you're not seeing yourself clearly. When someone finally wipes the mirror clean, the process isn't gentle. It takes pressure, rubbing, scrubbing, friction. It feels like something is being erased, but nothing valuable is being removed. Only the layers that weren't truly part of you. That's what you're experiencing. The friction you feel is the old identity being wiped away, not to destroy you, but to reveal you. You're in that uncomfortable stage where you don't recognize yourself yet, where the old version is gone and the new version isn't fully formed. But stop trying to resurrect the past. Stop trying to be the person you used to be before you knew what you now know. The you who avoided conflict had to die. The you who hid your pain had to die. The you who tried to belong everywhere except within yourself had to die. Those versions served their purpose. They kept you alive. But they can't take you where you're going next. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it feels like losing yourself. But you're not losing yourself. You're meeting yourself. And meeting your real self for the first time is always disorienting. You're not falling apart. You're being rebuilt. The person you're becoming is more aligned, more grounded, more capable of carrying the life you actually want. The opportunities that are coming need a stronger you, a braver you, a clearer you. The old version couldn't have survived the future you're stepping into. You're not dying, you're becoming. And soon, this pain won't feel like loss. It'll feel like freedom. Number 7. Your timing wasn't wrong. The clock you were watching was. You thought you'd be further by now. You had a timeline, milestones you were supposed to hit by certain ages, and you're nowhere near where you thought you'd be. So you decided you're behind, you're late, you're failing. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Time is a sort of river of passing events, and strong is its current." You're not behind, you're in the current, moving at the exact speed your journey requires. What if the timeline you're measuring yourself against was never real? Society gave you a clock that has nothing to do with your actual life. Graduate at 22, career by 25, married by 30, as if everyone's journey runs on the same schedule, as if life is a factory assembly line. But life doesn't work like that. Real growth doesn't work like that. Transformation doesn't happen on a schedule you can post on LinkedIn. It happens in its own time, following rhythms you can't control. In deep-sea diving, the diver must rise to the surface slowly. If they ascend too fast, their body collapses under the pressure. They get the bends, a dangerous condition caused by rising before the body is ready. Going up too fast is more dangerous than staying deep. And yet, you punish yourself for not ascending faster in life. But your pace isn't a delay, it's protection. You are surfacing at the exact speed required to survive your journey and sustain the growth that's coming. You've been trying to force your life to match someone else's calendar, and all it's done is exhaust you, made you feel perpetually behind, perpetually inadequate. But look at the people you think are ahead of you. How many are actually happy? How many built lives that look impressive but feel hollow? How many hit all the milestones and then realize they didn't mean what they thought? Your timing isn't wrong. It's yours. And yours doesn't look like anyone else's because you're not anyone else. You're on a completely different path that requires completely different timing. Glaciers move so slowly that they appear still to the human eye. People stare at them and think nothing is happening, but they are moving, quietly, powerfully, reshaping entire landscapes over time. They carve valleys, form rivers, shift mountains. transform the earth in ways nothing fast could ever do. Slow doesn't mean stuck. Slow means you're becoming strong enough to reshape your own life with lasting impact. Your progress may look invisible right now, but your transformation is happening beneath the surface. Steady, unstoppable, undeniable. You're not behind. You're in the season you need to be in. The season where you learn what can only be learned through struggle. Where you develop depth that early success would have prevented. Where you build the foundation for something real instead of something fast. And what you're building, it's going to matter more than what you thought you were supposed to build. It's going to be truer, more sustainable, more aligned with who you actually are. But it takes the time it takes. Stop comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20. Stop measuring your beginning against their middle. You have no idea what they went through, what they sacrificed, what they're still struggling with behind the facade. Your life is unfolding exactly as it needs to, not as you wish it would, not as you planned, but as it needs to for you to become who you're meant to become. Trust that. Even when it feels slow, even when it feels like everyone else is ahead, you're not supposed to catch up. You're supposed to stay on your path, at your pace, learning your lessons and the time it's taking. That's not wasted time. That's growing time, building time, becoming time. Number 8. The weight you're carrying isn't yours to carry alone. You've been carrying everything by yourself. Other people's expectations, their disappointments, their needs, your own pain on top of all that. And you carry it quietly because you learned that asking for help means you're weak. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And mastering yourself doesn't mean carrying everything alone. It means knowing when to put things down, when to ask for help, when to admit some weights were never yours to carry. So you carry it, all of it, until your knees buckle and your hands shake, and even then, you don't put it down. You just try to rearrange it, because that's what you do. That's who you've always been, the strong one, the capable one. But strength isn't carrying everything alone. That's stubbornness. That's fear. That's pride disguised as resilience. Ants can carry many times their body weight, but they don't work alone. They work in colonies. They share the load. Even the strongest among us are stronger together. No ant says, "I should be able to carry this entire leaf by myself." They just call for backup. You think asking for help diminishes you, makes you a burden. But what if it's actually the opposite? What if asking for help is the bravest thing you can do? What if it's proof that you're strong enough to admit you're human? Think about people in your life who've asked you for help. Did you think less of them? Or did you feel honored that they trusted you enough to be vulnerable? Other people want to help you. They want to matter in your life. But you won't let them. You keep them at arm's length with your "I'm fine" and your "I've got it" and your refusal to admit that you're drowning. Maybe you learned this because people who were supposed to help you didn't. Because vulnerability got used against you. So you decided never again. You decided you'd rather carry it alone than risk that pain. But not everyone is them. Not every hand reaching toward you is going to drop you. Some people are genuinely safe. Some people actually see you and want to help. But you have to let them close enough to try. Start small. Pick one person, one safe person. Let them see one piece of what you're carrying. Say, "I'm not okay," instead of "I'm fine." Say, "I'm struggling," instead of pretending you're not. Watch what happens. Most of the time, they'll step up. They'll show you that sharing the weight doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. And here's the other thing. Some of what you're carrying isn't even yours. You picked up other people's shame, their expectations, their unfinished business. You've been carrying their disappointment, their judgment, their needs that they should be meeting themselves. Put it down. Start examining what's in your arms. Pick up each piece and ask, is this mine? Is this my responsibility? And if the answer is no, put it down. You were never meant to carry the world on your shoulders. You were meant to carry your own journey, your own growth. And even that, you were meant to share it with people who care about you. Stop being so strong that you're actually weak. Stop being so independent that you're actually isolated. Let someone in. Let someone help. Not because you can't do it alone, but because you don't have to. Comment if you feel this. I am allowed to need help. Number 9. The life you're building in secret is more real than the one you lost in public. Nobody sees what you're doing right now. There's no audience for the 3 a.m. moments when you choose to keep going. No applause for the small decisions you make every day to try again. No recognition for the quiet strength it takes to rebuild yourself in the dark. And that invisibility makes you feel like what you're doing doesn't count. Like if nobody's watching, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe you should have something to show by now. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." You're not poor because you have nothing to show. You're rich because you're building something real instead of performing something fake. The most important work you'll ever do happens when nobody's looking. When you plant bamboo, you water it for 4 years and nothing happens above ground. No visible progress. Just faith that something's happening beneath the surface. Then in the 5th year, it grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. But it's not really 6 weeks of growth. It's 5 years of root development nobody could see. You're in your underground years, building roots, creating foundation, doing invisible work that will support everything that comes next. And it feels like nothing's happening because there's nothing to photograph, nothing to post. But you are. Every day you keep going, you're building roots. Every time you try again after failing, you're building roots. Every moment you sit with your pain instead of numbing it, all of it is building the foundation for your 90-foot growth moment, the life you lost in public. That was the performance, the version you presented to the world. It looked impressive, but you know the truth. It was exhausting. It required constant maintenance. It needed validation to feel real. But this life you're building in secret, this is the real one. This is where you're becoming someone who doesn't need an audience to have value, where you're learning what you actually think without the pressure of other people's opinions. The privacy of your struggle is actually a gift. It means you don't have to perform your healing. You don't have to package your pain into something inspirational before you've processed it. You can be messy. You can be uncertain. You can take 3 steps forward and 2 steps back without anyone judging. Most people never get this. They live their entire lives on stage, performing every moment. They never know who they actually are underneath the performance because they never have privacy to find out. But you're being forced to find yourself outside that system, to build an identity that doesn't depend on external validation, to create meaning that exists whether anyone acknowledges it or not. And that's real power, the kind that can't be taken away because it was never given to you by anyone else. You're learning to carry your own light, to trust your own path, even when nobody else can see where you're going. To know your own worth, even when the world isn't reflecting it back. The people who matter will see what you're building eventually. Not because you advertise it, but because it will be undeniable. When something is built on a real foundation, when it comes from a true place, it shows, it radiates. But you have to stop waiting for permission to value what you're doing. Stop waiting for recognition to believe your efforts matter. You're the only witness you need right now. And one day, years from now, when you're standing 90 feet tall and people ask how you did it, you'll remember these invisible years. You'll remember the days nobody saw. the nights you fought through alone, and you'll know that this was when it really happened. Not when everyone could see it, when nobody could. This is your real life, the one you're building in the dark, the one that's roots deep instead of surface level, the one that's yours in a way nothing else has ever been. Don't rush it. Let it grow in secret. Let it become what it needs to become without the pressure of other people's expectations. Your time in the light is coming, but right now, you're supposed to be underground, building something strong enough to support what you're going to become. Type this below. My invisible work has visible value. Number 10. The hope you need isn't the hope you lost. You want the old hope back. The easy kind that believed things would work out simply because you wanted them to. The kind that saw the future as bright and clear. The kind that didn't know what you know now, didn't carry what you carry now. That hope is gone, and you've been treating that loss like it's the end of everything. Like without that naive optimism, there's no point in continuing. But that hope was a child's hope, and you're not a child anymore. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." He wasn't saying life would be easy. He was saying that hope doesn't come from circumstances, it comes from how you meet them. There's a different kind of hope available to you now. Not the blind kind that ignores reality, the clear-eyed kind that sees reality exactly as it is and chooses to keep going anyway. Not hope that says, everything will definitely work out. Hope that says, I don't know what will happen, but I'm willing to find out. The philosopher Albert Camus wrote about Sisyphus, the man condemned to push a boulder up a mountain only to watch it roll back down forever, a story about meaningless suffering. But Camus said something radical. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. Not because the task gets easier, not because the boulder stops rolling down, but because Sisyphus decides that the struggle itself is enough, that he doesn't need a happy ending to make his efforts meaningful. That's the hope you need now. Not hope for a specific outcome. Hope that you can handle whatever comes. Hope that meaning exists in the journey, even if the destination isn't what you planned. Hope that your life has value even when it's hard, even when it hurts. This new hope doesn't promise you anything. It doesn't guarantee success or happiness or fairness. It just says, you've survived everything so far. You've made it through every bad day up until this point. Your track record for getting through difficult times is 100%. And that's not nothing. You're building what some call tragic optimism, the ability to maintain hope and find meaning despite pain, despite loss, despite the inevitable suffering that comes with being human. It's not pretending the pain doesn't exist. It's the deep knowing that you can endure, that you can grow through difficulty, that you can create meaning even in circumstances you wouldn't choose. This hope doesn't need things to be perfect. It doesn't need guarantees. It just needs you to keep showing up, to keep trying, to keep believing that your existence matters even when you can't see the point, to keep moving even when you don't know where you're going. And here's what this hope gives you that the old hope never could. It's unbreakable. The old hope shattered when life got hard because it was built on the assumption that life wouldn't get hard. But this new hope, it's built on the knowledge that life is hard and you can handle it, that things will go wrong and you'll figure it out, that you'll lose things and keep going. This hope has scar tissue. It's been through fire and came out changed but not destroyed. It knows what it's talking about because it's been tested. It's earned. It's real in a way that innocent optimism could never be. You don't need to believe everything happens for a reason. You don't need to believe there's a grand plan. You just need to believe that you're capable of continuing, that tomorrow might be different than today, that you contain the strength to handle uncertainty. This hope lives in small moments, in the decision to get out of bed when you don't want to, in the choice to eat something nourishing when you barely have appetite, in the act of reaching out when you feel completely alone, in the tiny movements forward that don't feel like progress, but accumulate into something over time. It's not dramatic, it's not Instagram-worthy, it's quiet and steady and unglamorous. It's the hope that says, I'll try one more day, instead of, everything's going to be amazing. It's the hope that finds one small thing to appreciate instead of needing everything to be perfect. It's the hope that can hold both grief and gratitude, both pain and possibility. You lost the hope you had, and that loss made you wiser. It made you stronger. It made you more real. The hope you're building now is better because it's based on truth instead of fantasy. It's sustainable because it doesn't require perfect circumstances. It's powerful because it's chosen, not given. You're not going back to who you were before you knew pain. You're going forward as someone who knows pain and chooses hope anyway, not because you're naive, because you're brave, not because it's easy, because it's necessary, not because you know it will work, because not trying is worse than trying and failing. This is your hope now, different than before, deeper, scarred, real, unbreakable, built not on what you wish were true, but on what you know you can survive. And that's more than enough to keep going. So here we are, you made it through. 10 truths about what it means to lose everything and still be standing. And I know you're still hurting, still uncertain, still carrying weight that makes every step feel impossible. But you're here, and that means something. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Your story doesn't end in this darkness. This chapter is brutal, yes. It's unfair and exhausting, and it's testing you in ways you never imagined. But it's a chapter, not the whole book, not your final page, just a part of a longer story that you're still writing. Everything we talked about today, the pain that's building you, the people who left, the failures that redirected you, the silence that's teaching you, the weaknesses that are making you real, the old self that needed to die, the timing that's actually perfect, the weight you don't have to carry alone, the invisible work that matters, and the new kind of hope you're earning. All of it is part of your becoming. You're not broken. You're breaking open. There's a difference. Breaking means ending. Breaking open means more light gets in, more truth gets out, more of your real self gets to exist in the world. And yes, it hurts. But it's not destruction. It's transformation. The fact that you watched this entire video, that tells me you haven't given up. Some part of you is still fighting, still searching, still believing there's more to your story than this moment of despair. Hold on to that part. Feed it. Let it grow, even when everything else feels like it's dying. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to fix everything today. You just need to stay. Stay one more day. Stay one more hour. Stay long enough to see what happens next. Because something always happens next. Always. The story keeps moving. Life keeps unfolding. And you deserve to see where yours goes. Before you leave, hit that like button if this reached you. Drop a comment. Share your affirmation, or just let me know you're here and you're trying. Share this with someone who needs it. You probably know someone who does subscribe, because you're part of a community now. A community of people who refuse to let their darkest chapter be their last one. Your life isn't over. Your hope isn't gone. Your purpose isn't lost. They're just being rebuilt into something stronger, something truer, something that can actually hold the weight of a real life, not just a performed one. I believe in you. Even if you don't believe in yourself right now. Even if you can't see how you're going to make it through. Even if everything feels impossible, I believe you're going to survive this. And more than survive, you're going to become someone you can't even imagine yet. Someone who looks back at this moment and understands why it had to happen exactly this way. Stay. Keep going. You matter. Drop your affirmation one last time. I am still becoming. Hey warriors, something changes inside you when you realize you're living below your potential. It's not loud, it's quiet, like a door slowly closing in another room. You feel it at night when everything is silent and one question whispers in your mind. Am I building something that will outlast me? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, remember what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." But he also knew something deeper, that privilege without purpose becomes a prison. You weren't born just to exist. You were born to leave a mark, something that lasts beyond your years. Think about the bristlecone pine, a tree that grows in the harshest places, high mountains, cold winds, rocky soil. Other trees grow fast in comfort, but the bristlecone endures for over 5,000 years. Why? Because the struggle makes it stronger. Its wood becomes dense, unbreakable. Even after it dies, it still stands tall for thousands of years, a symbol of endurance. That's what your life feels like right now. You're being shaped by pressure that feels unbearable. You're unseen, unheard, unrecognized. You're building something in silence, and the silence keeps asking, does this even matter? But maybe this season, this quiet, heavy moment, is exactly where your legacy is being built. Maybe invisibility isn't a punishment, it's preparation. Maybe you're not falling behind, you're being refined into something unbreakable. Living a life that matters has nothing to do with attention. It's about integrity. It's not about who sees you. It's about what remains when you're gone. Not the noise you make, but the truth you live. And truth doesn't need an audience. It just needs your courage. These next 7 truths won't give you comfort. They'll give you clarity. They'll strip away the lies you've believed about what makes life meaningful. They'll challenge you to stop measuring yourself by the wrong standards. Each truth connects to the next. Miss one, and you'll miss the full picture. Rush through them, and you'll miss the transformation they bring. This isn't just motivation that fades tomorrow. These are truths that will reshape how you see your pain, your growth, and your purpose. They've carried people from obscurity to greatness, not because life got easier, but because they became unbreakable. Drop this powerful affirmation in the comments section below and let the world know you're done playing small. I matter now. Truth 1. Your worth is not determined by who shows up. Your value isn't up for debate. It's not decided by who stays or who leaves. It's not a vote. It's not a number. And it's definitely not measured by how many people see your worth. This truth hurts because we're wired for connection. And when people disappear, it feels like proof that we don't matter. But Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. He knew something simple. The crowd's opinion is the most unreliable compass for a meaningful life. People usually celebrate what's familiar, not what challenges them to grow. Right now, maybe you're keeping score, counting unanswered messages, empty chairs, silent rooms. You feel like you're giving everything and getting nothing back. But you're using the wrong math. Think about Emily Dickinson. She wrote nearly 1,800 poems, mostly alone, in her room. During her life, she published fewer than 12. The world ignored her. She died unknown. Yet today, her words move millions. Her silence didn't mean her work lacked value. It meant her time hadn't come yet. The same with Vincent van Gogh. He sold only one painting while he was alive. He died believing he was a failure. But today, his art hangs in museums around the world, worth hundreds of millions. Time didn't make his work valuable. It simply revealed the truth that was already there. History repeats this pattern. Gregor Mendel discovered genetics. Ignored for 35 years, Alfred Wegener proposed continental drift. Mocked until after his death. Their ideas weren't wrong. The audience was just late. Even the moon rises every night, perfectly on time. It lights the sky, moves the tides, keeps balance on Earth. It does all this whether anyone notices or not. Its value doesn't depend on attention. It depends on purpose. That's your mission too. Not to perform for approval, but to honor the work you were born to do. The effort matters because you showed up, not because someone clapped. Real growth often happens in solitude. Innovation needs focus. Healing needs quiet. Transformation needs privacy. You can't evolve while performing for an audience. People get uncomfortable when you outgrow the version of yourself they're used to. Your growth reminds them of their stagnation. Your courage reflects their fear. They're not rejecting you. They're protecting themselves from what your change reveals. Your worth was set long before anyone showed up to notice. It's not earned through applause. It's not proven through validation. It simply is. So, remember this. The empty room isn't rejection. It's clarity. It's space for you to focus, build, and prepare. It's protection from noise that would water down your vision. You're not behind. You're just early to your calling. Early to the life others will one day pretend they always believed you could live. But they didn't need to believe. Because this was never about their belief. It was always about yours. Take a moment right now and write this declaration in the comments. I validate myself. Truth 2. The struggle you're hiding is the strength you're building. There's a weight you carry that doesn't have a name. A silent battle no one sees. You fight it every day, and sometimes pretending you're okay is harder than the fight itself. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." He understood something most forget. Your struggle isn't stopping your story, it's writing it. The pressure that's crushing you isn't destroying you, it's shaping you. You're tired, not just physically, tired in your soul, tired of being strong, tired of pretending you're fine when you're breaking inside. You're fighting battles no one knows about. Money, health, fear, doubt. And yet, every morning, you still get up. That's strength. No one sees your 3 a.m. breakdowns. No one gives awards for surviving another day. But survival is a skill, and you're mastering it. In metallurgy, there's something called work hardening. When metal is bent, hammered, and stretched, it doesn't become weaker. It becomes stronger. The stress rearranges its structure until it can't break easily anymore. That's what's happening to you. Every hit, every setback, every disappointment, it's making you unbreakable. Look at Admiral James Stockdale. He spent 7 years as a prisoner of war in Vietnam, tortured, isolated, humiliated. When asked who didn't survive, he said, "The optimists, the ones who kept saying, 'We'll be out by Christmas.' When Christmas came and went, their hope collapsed. But Stockdale survived because he accepted the brutal truth of his situation and still believed he'd make it in the end. That balance between reality and faith became known as the Stockdale paradox, facing pain without losing belief. That's how diamonds are made, pressure without breaking. You might think others have it easier. You're wrong. Everyone's fighting something you can't see. The difference is, you're still moving forward. You're still showing up. And that's what separates strength from collapse. Think about creatures in the Mariana Trench, living under pressure that would crush almost anything. Yet they don't just survive, they thrive. They've adapted to pressure so extreme, they can't live in shallow water anymore. That's you. You're adapting, evolving, becoming someone who can handle what would destroy others. Stop apologizing for your struggle. It's not weakness, it's proof you're still in the fight. Easy lives make fragile people, but you're being built for purpose, a purpose that requires this level of strength. When struggle whispers, "You're not strong enough," remember, strength isn't the absence of pain. It's what remains after pain has taken everything, and you're still standing, still breathing, still trying. Write these words in the comments and own your warrior spirit. I am unbreakable. Truth 3. Purpose doesn't wait for perfect. It starts with present. You've been waiting for the right moment, the day when everything feels aligned, when you're ready, confident, qualified. But that day never comes. It's a mirage that keeps moving the closer you get. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." He knew purpose doesn't start when life's perfect. It starts when you stop waiting. You're trapped in the gap between who you are and who you think you need to be, and that gap is stealing your life. You keep saying, "I'll start when I'm ready." But readiness never comes. Fear doesn't disappear. It just learns to walk beside you. You're waiting for the right credentials, for confidence, for time, for someone to tell you it's okay to begin. But perfection is just fear, pretending to be preparation. Think about a river. It doesn't wait until it's powerful to reach the ocean. It starts small, a trickle, almost invisible. But by moving, by flowing, it shapes canyons, valleys, entire landscapes. It changes the world not by waiting, but by starting. Your purpose works the same way. It begins with showing up, even when you feel unsure, even when it's messy, even when it's scary. Someone out there needs what you have right now, your story, your voice, your kindness, your experience, not later, now. But you're holding back, thinking it's not good enough. Enough compared to what? To who? Perfection doesn't change lives. Presence does. Look at Johann Sebastian Bach. He wrote a new cantata every single week for church. No waiting for inspiration, no chasing perfection, just showing up, and those pieces became masterpieces. Dave Thomas, founder of Wendy's, was a high school dropout. He didn't wait to feel qualified. He started where he was, learned by doing, and built something lasting. He got his diploma at 61, not for success, but to inspire others. Every person who's ever made a difference started scared and imperfect. Like a seed breaking open underground, it doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It just grows, through darkness, through cold, through uncertainty. It breaks apart before it rises. That's what starting looks like. Breaking open before you see the light, choosing to move even when you can't see the outcome. Stop waiting for the perfect version of yourself. That version can't act yet. Only this one can. The imperfect one reading these words right now. Purpose isn't a reward for being flawless. It's the decision to show up again and again with what you have, where you are, as you are. The world doesn't need your perfection. It needs your presence. If you're ready to step into your purpose right now, imperfect and uncertain but willing, then declare it to the world. I start today. Truth 4. The people who don't understand your journey aren't meant to walk it with you. Here's a truth that quietly breaks your heart. You're outgrowing people you once thought were permanent, and it feels like betrayal. But it's not. You're just changing. You're moving. You're no longer willing to stay in spaces that feel too small. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." He understood that the people who need you to explain your growth are the same ones who benefit from you staying small. They don't need clarity. They need you to stay familiar, comfortable, and predictable. You've been trying to bring everyone along, explaining your vision to people who aren't even looking in your direction, defending your dreams to people who've settled, seeking support from people who feel threatened by your growth. And every time you explain, you feel more drained, because they're not asking for understanding, they're asking you not to change. It's not weakness, it's exhaustion from trying to do the impossible. You're speaking a language they've never learned, describing colors to people who've only ever seen black and white. In nature, snakes and insects shed their old skin to grow. It's called molting. It's painful. They rub against rocks and branches, blind and vulnerable, just to break free. Not because they want to, but because if they don't, they'll die in that old skin. That's where you are now, shedding the version of you that can't grow any further. Some people you love are part of that old skin. They're not bad. They're just not built for where you're going. They can't follow because they refuse to shed their own comfort, and you can't stay because staying means dying to your potential. The hardest part isn't losing them. It's the guilt, the fear that choosing yourself means betraying them. But growth isn't betrayal, it's truth. Some people were meant to teach you, not travel with you. Think about salmon. They swim upstream alone. The companions from the ocean can't follow. They weren't built for that current. The salmon doesn't stop to explain or apologize. It just follows the call within. It's the same for astronauts. Not everyone can join their mission. The training is too hard, the environment too demanding. Their families watch from the ground and cheer. They don't ask them to stay, because love understands distance when purpose calls. You'll sit in rooms you once belonged to and feel like a stranger. You'll speak truths others can't hear, and it will hurt. But that pain is proof of transformation. Above a certain height, climbers enter what's called the death zone. The air is too thin. Even the strongest must climb alone. Helping someone else could kill both. That's how it feels when you're growing. You're reaching altitudes where some people can't breathe. It's not about their worth. It's about their capacity. So, stop shrinking yourself to stay small. Stop explaining to those who've chosen not to understand. Stop feeling guilty for becoming who you were always meant to be. The right people will find you, not because you convinced them, but because your truth will match their frequency. They'll just fit, effortlessly. You don't owe anyone access to a version of you that no longer exists. You don't owe anyone your smallness just to make them comfortable. Release them with peace. Thank them for their part in your story. They were meant for a chapter, not the whole book. And that's okay. Walk forward knowing everyone meant for your next chapter will appear, and you won't have to beg them to turn the page. Show yourself that commitment by typing these liberating words in the comments. I choose growth. Truth 5. Your scars are your credentials. You've been hiding what gives you real power, your scars. You've been covering your wounds, apologizing for your pain, pretending it didn't happen. But those scars don't disqualify you, they qualify you. Marcus Aurelius said, "The obstacle is the way." Your pain isn't blocking your path, it's shaping it. Your scars are the proof that you've survived what others are still fighting. You think you need to be fully healed before you can help anyone. You think you must be perfect before you can teach. That's a lie. The world doesn't need polished perfection. It needs real proof. The world needs someone who says, I bled here, I broke here, but I survived. And so can you. A lighthouse isn't built in calm seas. It's built on rocks, in dangerous places. It stands through storms because it knows how to endure them. That's you. You're not speaking from safety. You're speaking from survival. That's what makes your voice powerful. In Japan, there's an art called kintsugi, broken pottery repaired with gold. The cracks aren't hidden, they're highlighted, because what was once broken becomes the most beautiful part. Your scars are your gold lines, proof of your transformation. Even your body works this way. When it survives a disease, it becomes stronger, immune. Your mind works the same. Every heartbreak, betrayal, or loss gave you wisdom others can't fake. The deepest healers are those who've been hurt the most. Recovering addicts help best because they know the pain, they've lived it. That's credibility you can't buy. Someone right now needs to see your scars. They're standing in the same darkness, wondering if they can make it. When they see you, still standing, still breathing, they'll believe they can too. Your scars make you powerful. They make you dangerous to shame, to fear, to doubt. Because you've faced hell and came back stronger. So, stop hiding. Own your story. Your scars are not your weakness. They are your credentials. They prove that what tried to destroy you only made you unstoppable. Write it boldly in the comments section. My scars are my strength. Truth. 6. Mattering means making choices that your future self will thank you for. Every single day you're in a negotiation with two versions of yourself. The one who wants comfort now and the one who wants a life that matters later. One of them will win, and whichever one wins today will shape who you become tomorrow. Seneca warned, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." He was right. You don't lack time. You lack commitment to spending it on things that actually build the life you claim you want. Time isn't the problem. How you're investing it is. Right now, in this exact moment, you're making a choice. Maybe it feels small, maybe it feels invisible, but it's not. Every choice is a brick. And you're either building a palace or constructing a prison. The structure you're creating reveals itself slowly, one decision at a time, until one day you wake up and realize you're living in exactly what you built. You say you want financial freedom, but you're spending money on temporary satisfaction. You say you want better health, but you're choosing convenience over vitality. You say you want meaningful work, but you're not investing in developing your skills. The gap between what you say you want and what you're actually building is where your life is disappearing. Here's what nobody tells you about discipline. It's not about being hard on yourself. It's about being kind to your future. Every difficult choice you make today is a gift you're giving to the person you're becoming. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you're saying, "Future me, I see you, and I'm fighting for you right now." There's a principle in behavioral psychology called temporal discounting. It describes our tendency to choose smaller, immediate rewards over larger, delayed ones. We pick comfort today over growth tomorrow. We choose easy now over meaningful later. We sacrifice the future on the altar of the present, then wonder why our lives never change. This isn't a character flaw, it's human wiring. But understanding it doesn't mean surrendering to it. Every choice is a vote for the person you're becoming, a vote for the life you're creating. The question isn't, what do I want right now? The real question is, who do I want to be? And every yes to the easy thing is a no to the important thing. Think about a farmer planting seed. The ground is hard, the work is exhausting, the results are completely invisible. For weeks, sometimes months, there's nothing to show for the effort, just dirt, just faith, just the choice to keep planting even when nothing appears to be growing. Anyone can look at that field and see nothing. But the farmer sees differently. The farmer understands something about compound growth that impatient people never learn. The farmer doesn't plant corn and check the next day for stalks, doesn't water on Monday and expect harvest on Tuesday. The farmer understands that small, consistent actions, repeated over time, create results that seem miraculous to those who don't understand the process. The magic isn't in any single day, it's in the accumulation. Your life operates on the same principle. The workout today doesn't give you the body you want, but the workout today, repeated consistently for 100 days, transforms you completely. The hour of practice tonight doesn't make you an expert, but that hour, multiplied by months and years, makes you formidable. The difficult conversation today doesn't heal the relationship, but the pattern of honest communication, sustained over time, builds something unbreakable. Consider the construction of medieval cathedrals. These massive structures took generations to complete. The master mason who laid the first stone knew he would never see the finished building. He was making choices for a completion he would never witness. Yet he made those choices with precision, with care, with attention to detail, because he understood he wasn't building for himself. He was building for those who would come after, for a legacy that would outlast him by centuries. That's the mentality you need. You're not just making choices for today, you're building a legacy, creating a structure that will either shelter or imprison future you. Every decision either strengthens the foundation or creates cracks that will widen with time. Think about credit. Not financial credit, but the credit you're building with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you make a deposit. Every time you follow through on what you said you'd do, you build trust with the most important person in your life, you. And every time you break a promise to yourself, every time you choose the easy path after swearing you'd take the hard one, you make a withdrawal. Do that enough times, and you go bankrupt. You stop believing your own commitments, because history has taught you that you don't keep them. But the opposite is also true. When you start keeping promises to yourself, even small ones, you build compound interest. You develop self-trust. You become someone who does what they say they'll do, and that identity, that self-concept of being reliable to yourself, becomes a force multiplier for everything else you attempt. Warren Buffett became one of the wealthiest people in history, not through spectacular wins, but through consistent, patient, disciplined choices made over decades. He understood compound interest. He understood that small percentages, accumulated over long periods, create exponential results. He made choices in his 20s and 30s that his 70-year-old self benefited from enormously. Not exciting choices, not glamorous choices, just consistent, disciplined, future-focused choices. You want a life that matters? Then act like it. Wake up when you said you would, not when it feels convenient. Do the work you committed to, not the work that's easy. Have the conversations you've been avoiding. Take the steps that scare you. Choose discipline when every fiber of your being wants to drift. Because one day, maybe not today, maybe not next month, but one day you'll wake up and the harvest will have come. The life you wanted will be the life you're living, and it won't have happened by accident or luck. It will have happened because you made choices. Difficult choices, unpopular choices, uncomfortable choices that your past self made specifically for your present self. Every single night before you sleep, ask yourself this question: did I make choices today that my future self will thank me for? Not choices that felt good, not choices that were easy. Choices that move you toward the life you actually want, instead of keeping you comfortable in the life you're trying to escape. Stop negotiating with yourself. Stop bargaining with your potential. Stop choosing temporary comfort that creates permanent regret. Your future is being constructed right now, not someday. Right now. this moment, this choice, this decision, and the architect is you. So, build something worth living in. Number 7. You don't need permission to matter. You need conviction. This is it, the final truth, the one that either sets you free or keeps you caged forever. Everything else we've discussed leads to this moment, this choice, this recognition. You are waiting for someone to tell you it's your turn, to give you permission, to validate that you're allowed to take up space, speak up, step forward, and matter. But that permission will never come, not because you don't deserve it, but because it was never required in the first place. Marcus Aurelius, who commanded the most powerful empire on earth, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He ruled nations and still understood. The only permission that actually matters is the permission you give yourself. Everything else is negotiation with illusions, but you're living like you need approval, like your worth is pending someone else's signature, like you can't matter until someone else decides you can. And while you wait, your life is evaporating, your gifts are gathering dust, your purpose sits there, patient, but wondering when you'll finally claim it. You're waiting for your employer to recognize your value, for your family to believe in you, for society to validate you, for circumstances to align perfectly, for the universe to send an unmistakable sign. But the sign has already been sent. It's written in the restlessness you feel, in the dreams that won't leave you alone, in the voice inside that refuses to stay silent no matter how much you try to quiet it. Permission is a cage disguised as protection. It feels safe to wait, to ask, to defer. Because if you fail after getting permission, it's not entirely your fault. You were following instructions, following the approved path. But if you fail after giving yourself permission, that's terrifying. That means you're fully responsible. And responsibility is what you've been avoiding. But responsibility is exactly what you need, not someone else's approval, not external validation, not the world's blessing. You need to look yourself in the mirror and say, "I matter," not because anyone said so, but because I exist, and I'm done waiting for permission to live like it. Every person who fundamentally changed history did so without permission. They didn't wait for the world to be ready. They forced the world to deal with them being ready. They didn't ask if they were allowed. They announced that they were here. Rosa Parks didn't have permission to refuse to give up her seat. The law explicitly forbade it. Society condemned it. But she had conviction, and conviction doesn't ask. It declares. Martin Luther King didn't have permission to dream of equality. The government opposed him. The establishment fought him, but his conviction was stronger than their resistance. Think about the Wright brothers. They didn't have permission to fly. Prominent scientists had proven mathematically that heavier than air flight was impossible. The establishment said it couldn't be done, but they had conviction. They ignored the experts, trusted their own observations, and changed human history. They didn't wait for academic approval. They built the plane and flew it. Oprah Winfrey didn't have permission to build a media empire. She was told she was the wrong gender, wrong race, wrong background. She was fired from an early television job for being unfit for TV. But she had conviction about her voice and her vision. She didn't wait for the industry to give her permission. She created her own platform and became one of the most influential people on the planet. Think about water accumulating behind a dam. It doesn't ask permission to break through. It doesn't wait for approval. It builds pressure. It accumulates force. And when the pressure becomes great enough, it breaks through. Not because anyone said it could, but because the force of what it had become made breakthrough inevitable. That's conviction. That's the energy you need to cultivate. Not arrogance, not entitlement, but the unshakable knowing that you were placed here for a reason, that your voice matters, that your life has weight, that your existence is not an accident but an assignment you've spent too long in the waiting room of your own life, watching others get called, watching others step forward, wondering when it'll be your turn, believing there's some cosmic order, some invisible list where your name will eventually appear. But there is no waiting room. There never was. That was just fear convincing you to stay seated while life happened around you. The door has always been open. The stage has always been available. The only thing keeping you in the audience is the belief that you need permission to step onto it. But you don't. You never did. Think about a lion in the wild. It doesn't ask permission to be king of its domain. It doesn't wait for other animals to vote on its status. It doesn't seek validation before acting with authority. It simply is what it is. Its conviction about its own nature is absolute. It doesn't second-guess, doesn't apologize, doesn't wait. It moves with complete certainty about its right to exist as it is. You were designed with the same inherent authority, not over others, but over your own life, your own choices, your own path. You have absolute dominion over who you become and what you create with your time here. No one can give you that authority because no one can take it away. It's inherent to your existence. So, I'm not asking if you're ready. I'm telling you something you already know but have been afraid to acknowledge. You were born ready. You've been ready. The world has been waiting for you to realize what's always been true. That you don't need anyone's permission to be who you already are. Stop waiting. Stop asking. Stop looking for validation from people who are waiting for the same thing. Stop performing the ritual of seeking approval when you already possess everything you need. Stand in your conviction, not loudly necessarily, not aggressively, but firmly, unshakably. With the quiet certainty of someone who knows their worth isn't up for debate. Claim your space. Own your voice. Live like someone who knows, beyond any doubt, that their life matters. Not because it's been proven or validated or approved, but because mattering isn't something you earn, it's something you are. Drop this powerful declaration in the comments right now. I am done waiting. 7 truths, not theories, not motivational concepts, but tested principles that have carried people from obscurity to undeniable impact, from invisible to essential, from waiting to becoming. You don't need everyone's belief. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need to wait until you're healed or ready or qualified. You need conviction. You need commitment. You need to start honoring the call inside that refuses to stay silent. Epictetus said it clearly. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. That's the entire equation. Decide who you are, then live accordingly. No more complicated than that. No more difficult than choosing yourself repeatedly until it becomes your nature. The world doesn't need more people waiting for permission. It needs people with the courage to matter, starting now. Starting where you are. Starting with what you have. Not someday when conditions improve. Today, this moment, this choice. Every single day presents the same decision. Stay small or step forward. Hide or be seen. Wait or begin. And every choice compounds. Every decision either builds the life you want or reinforces the life you're trying to escape. There is no neutral. Every moment is either progress or regression. 6 months from now, you'll be somewhere. The only question is where. Will you be having the same conversations with yourself, making the same excuses, living in the same patterns? Or will you have moved, grown, transformed into someone who barely remembers what it felt like to live small? Your worth isn't determined by who shows up. Your struggles are building your strength. Your purpose doesn't wait for perfect. Some people aren't meant for your journey. Your scars are your credentials. Every choice matters, and you don't need permission. Now you know. The question is, what will you do with what you know? Before you go, type these 4 powerful words in the comments and let them be your battle cry moving forward. My life matters now. Hey warriors, the sun rises whether you're ready or not. The hours pass whether you use them or waste them. The years move forward whether you grow or stay the same. Time doesn't pause for your fear. It doesn't wait for your excuses. It doesn't care about your plans that never became action. And somewhere in the quiet of your own heart, you already know this. You know that the life you want isn't going to fall into your lap. You know that the dreams you carry won't build themselves. You know that every morning you wake up, you're either moving closer to who you're meant to be, or you're standing still while the world moves on without you. There's a voice inside you that whispers in the dark hours. It reminds you of the promises you made to yourself, the goals you set last year that are still sitting there, untouched, the potential you feel burning beneath your skin but haven't found the courage to unleash. That voice isn't there to haunt you, it's there to wake you up, because the gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't bridged by wishes, it's bridged by work, hard work, the kind that makes your hands tired and your mind focused and your spirit stronger. The kind that nobody sees but everybody feels when they meet the person you've become because of it. You don't need permission to start. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need everything figured out before you take the first step. You just need to wake up tomorrow morning with a different decision in your heart, a decision that says, today I stop waiting. Today I start working. Today I become the kind of person who does what they said they would do. The world is full of people who talk about what they're going to do someday. Someday I'll start that business. Someday I'll write that book. Someday I'll get in shape. Someday I'll chase that dream. But someday isn't a day of the week. Someday is just another word for never. And you weren't put on this earth to live in the land of never. You were put here to wake up and work hard at it. Whatever it is for you. Whatever makes your heart beat faster and your soul feel alive. Whatever scares you and excites you at the same time. That thing you think about when you're alone. That dream you've been carrying for years, that vision of who you could become if you just stopped hesitating and started moving. This isn't about becoming someone else. This is about becoming more of who you already are. The strongest version, the most focused version, the version that doesn't break promises to themselves, the version that shows up even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Don't skip any part of this video. Every word is here for a reason. Every point will challenge you. Every truth will push you forward. Are you ready? Are you ready to wake up and work hard at it? Let's begin. Now, I need you to do something powerful. Type this affirmation in the comments below. Today, I start. Tomorrow, I continue. Forever, I persist. Number 1. The days when nothing changes are building the life that will. You wake up. You do the work. Nothing happens. You wake up again. You do the work again. Still nothing. Days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. And you look at your life and wonder if any of this effort even matters, because everything looks exactly the same as when you started. This is where most people break. This is the moment when the mind starts whispering poison. You're not good enough. This isn't working. Other people have it easier. Maybe you should just accept this is as good as it gets. And if you listen to that voice, if you let those thoughts win, you'll quit right before the transformation begins. Here's what nobody tells you about hard work. It doesn't show results on your schedule. It works in the dark. It builds underground. Like a seed buried in soil, everything important is happening where you can't see it. The roots are spreading, the foundation is forming, the strength is developing. But on the surface, to the naked eye, nothing appears different. You're learning a new skill, practicing every day, but you still feel clumsy and unsure. You're building a healthier body, working out consistently, but the mirror shows you the same reflection. You're creating something meaningful, pouring hours into it, but the world hasn't noticed yet. And in those moments, you have to make a choice. Do you trust what you can't see, or do you quit because you can't prove it's working? Epictetus taught, no great thing is created suddenly any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer you that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen. Growth doesn't happen in explosions. It happens in quiet accumulation. Every single day you show up, you're adding one more layer, one more brick, one more degree of strength. You can't see it happening, but it's happening. And one day, without warning, you'll wake up and realize you're not the same person who started this journey. You'll attempt something that used to be impossible and find it easy. You'll face something that used to break you and stand firm. You'll look back and barely recognize who you used to be. But you only get there if you keep working on the days when nothing changes. Those are the days that count most, not the days when you feel inspired and motivated and on fire. Those days are easy. Anyone can work hard when they're excited. The question is, can you work hard when you're tired? Can you show up when you're discouraged? Can you keep going when you can't see progress? Your brain wants immediate feedback. It wants to know right now that this effort is worth it. But life doesn't work that way. Life rewards patience. It rewards persistence. It rewards the person who keeps planting seeds even when the harvest feels impossible. Think about water boiling. You put the pot on the stove. You turn up the heat. 1 minute passes. Nothing. 5 minutes pass. Still nothing. 10 minutes pass. The water sits there, mocking your effort. But inside that water, at the molecular level, everything is changing. The temperature is rising. The energy is building. And then, suddenly, it boils. Did the change happen suddenly? Nah. It was happening the entire time. You just couldn't see it until the moment it became undeniable. Your life works the same way. Every early morning, every late night, every moment you chose discipline over distraction, every time you kept your promise to yourself when no one was watching. It's all building towards something. The heat is rising. The transformation is happening. You just can't see it yet. So, stop judging your progress by what you can see today. Start trusting what you're building for tomorrow. The days when nothing changes are the days that change everything. They're testing your commitment. They're teaching you patience. They're turning you into someone strong enough to handle the success that's coming. Keep working. Keep showing up. Keep trusting the invisible process. Because the life you want is being built in the days when it doesn't feel like anything is happening at all. Number 2. Your comfort zone is a beautiful prison. There's a place you know well, a place where everything feels familiar and safe, where you can predict what happens next, where nothing challenges you too deeply or pushes you too far. It's comfortable there, warm, easy. And that's exactly why it's killing your dreams. Your comfort zone isn't just a place. It's a set of habits you repeat without thinking. It's the same routine every day, the same thoughts every morning, the same limits you've accepted as truth. It's the boundary line you drew around your life and promised yourself you'd never cross. And every day you stay inside that line, you're choosing safety over growth. You're choosing familiar over possible. Here's the hard truth. Everything you want is outside your comfort zone. Every version of yourself that you admire, that you dream about becoming, that you see in your mind when you're alone with your thoughts. That person lives on the other side of discomfort. And the only way to meet them is to walk through the fire that separates who you are from who you're meant to be. Think about the first time you tried anything difficult. Learning to ride a bicycle, speaking in front of people, starting something new when you had no idea what you were doing. It was terrifying, wasn't it? Your hands shook, your heart raced. Every cell in your body screamed at you to stop, to go back, to choose the easy path. But you didn't. You pushed through, and on the other side of that fear, you found capability you didn't know you had. That's how growth works. It's not comfortable. It's not gentle. It doesn't ask for your permission or wait until you feel ready. Growth happens when you're stretched beyond what you thought was possible, when you're uncomfortable, when you're uncertain, when you're doing things that scare you. Seneca wrote, "It is in times of security that the spirit should be preparing itself for difficult times." You don't have to wait for life to force you out of your comfort zone. You can choose to leave. You can wake up tomorrow and do one thing that scares you. Just one. Not something reckless or dangerous, but something that makes your heart beat a little faster. Something that challenges the story you've been telling yourself about what you can't do. Maybe it's starting that project you've been avoiding. Maybe it's having that difficult conversation you've been postponing. Maybe it's waking up an hour earlier. Maybe it's training your body harder than you did yesterday. Maybe it's working on your dream instead of just thinking about it. Whatever it is, it's waiting for you just outside the walls of your comfort. And here's what happens when you step outside. At first, it feels wrong. Your mind will create 1,000 reasons why you should go back, why this isn't the right time, why you're not ready, why you should wait just a little longer. That's not wisdom speaking, that's fear. And fear's only job is to keep you small and safe and exactly where you are right now. But if you push through that initial resistance, if you stay in the discomfort long enough, something miraculous happens. What felt impossible starts to feel possible. What felt terrifying starts to feel manageable. What felt like too much starts to feel like just enough. And slowly, your comfort zone expands. It grows to include things that used to live outside it. You become someone new, someone stronger, someone capable of more. The version of you that achieves your dreams isn't more talented than you are right now. They're not luckier. They're not special. They just got comfortable being uncomfortable. They learned to live outside the beautiful prison of safety. They chose growth over comfort so many times that growth became their new comfort. You can stay where you are. Nobody will judge you for it. The walls of your comfort zone are soft and familiar. But ask yourself this: 5 years from now, will you regret staying? Or will you regret not leaving sooner? Your future self is waiting on the other side of your fear. Will you go meet them? Let's make this real. Drop this declaration in the comments section. I grow when I'm uncomfortable. Number 3. The morning you win determines the day you live. The battle for your life is won or lost before breakfast, before the world wakes up, before the noise and demands and distractions of the day begin. There's a sacred window of time right after you open your eyes where you get to decide who's in control, your circumstances or you, your excuses or your discipline, your feelings or your commitments. Most people lose this battle before they even know it started. The alarm sounds. They hit snooze. They lie there negotiating with themselves, bargaining for just a few more minutes of comfort. And in that moment, they've already surrendered. They've already told themselves that comfort matters more than their dreams, that how they feel matters more than what they committed to do. But you're not most people, or at least you don't have to be, because every morning is a new chance to choose differently. Every sunrise is an opportunity to prove to yourself that you're serious about the life you say you want to build. And it starts with one simple decision. When that alarm goes off, you get up. No negotiation, no excuses, no lying there thinking about it. You just move. That first win of the day, that moment when you override your feelings and do what you said you'd do, it sets everything in motion. It creates momentum. It builds confidence. It tells your brain, we keep our promises now. We don't break our word to ourselves anymore. We're different than we used to be, and that energy carries you through the entire day. You make better choices because you already made one hard choice. You stay focused because you started with focus. You feel strong because you've already proven your strength. The morning victory becomes the foundation for every other victory that follows. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for?" He understood that even powerful people face the same internal battle every morning. The difference is whether you win it or lose it. Think about what you do in those first few hours after waking. Are you reaching for your phone, filling your mind with other people's lives and problems? Are you lying there dreading the day ahead? Are you rushing through the morning in chaos and stress? Or are you taking control? Are you using that time to become stronger, sharper, more focused? Are you investing in yourself before you invest in anything else? The most successful people in any field share one common habit. They own their mornings. They wake up early, not because they're morning people, but because they understand that time is the one resource you can never get back. They use those quiet hours when the world is still sleeping to work on what matters most, to train their bodies, to expand their minds, to plan their days with intention instead of reacting to whatever happens. You don't need a perfect morning routine. You don't need to wake up at 4 in the morning or meditate for an hour or run 10 miles. You just need to do something that moves you forward, something that proves you're committed. Something that makes you better than you were yesterday. Maybe it's reading for 20 minutes. Maybe it's working on your most important goal before anyone can interrupt you. Maybe it's moving your body in some way that builds strength. Maybe it's sitting in silence for 5 minutes, clearing your mind, setting your intentions for the day. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that you do it, consistently, without excuse. Because here's what happens when you win your mornings. You stop being a victim of your day. You stop reacting to life and start creating it. You stop hoping things will get better and start making them better. The hours don't control you anymore. You control them. And over time, those morning victories compound. Days become weeks. Weeks become months. Months become years. And you look back and realize that the person you've become, the life you've built, it all started in those early morning moments when you could have stayed in bed but chose to get up instead. Tomorrow morning, when that alarm sounds, you'll have a choice. The same choice you've always had. But this time, you'll remember what's at stake. This time, you'll remember that your dreams are built one morning at a time. This time, you'll get up. Number 4, nobody's coming to save you, and that's your greatest power. There's a moment that comes to everyone who's ever achieved something meaningful. A moment of brutal clarity. A moment when you realize that all the waiting you've been doing, all the hoping and wishing and praying for things to change, it's been wasted time. Because nobody's coming. Nobody's going to rescue you from your circumstances. Nobody's going to hand you the life you want. Nobody's going to do the work for you. And at first, that realization feels heavy. It feels lonely. It feels unfair. You look around and see other people who seem to have it easier, who had help when they needed it, who got opportunities you never got. And you think, why do I have to do this alone? Why is everything so hard for me? But then something shifts. Once you stop waiting for rescue, once you truly accept that your life is your responsibility and yours alone, you discover something extraordinary. You're not as powerless as you thought. You're not as stuck as you believed. You're not as limited as your circumstances suggested. You've had the power all along. You just gave it away by waiting for someone else to use it for you. The truth is, your life will never change until you change. Your situation will never improve until you improve. Your dreams will never materialize until you materialize them through action, through effort, through relentless commitment to becoming someone capable of living them. And that's not a burden, that's freedom. Because if your success depends on you, then it can't be taken away by anyone else. If your progress is built by your own hands, then nobody can stop it. If your strength comes from within, then no external circumstance can break you. You become unshakable, not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." He understood that true power isn't about controlling what happens to you. It's about controlling how you respond to what happens to you. You can't control whether people help you. You can't control whether opportunities fall into your lap. You can't control whether the path is easy or hard. But you can control your effort. You can control your attitude. You can control whether you quit or keep going. And those three things, when wielded with intention, can change absolutely everything. Look at your life right now. Really look at it. The parts you don't like, the parts you wish were different, the parts that frustrate you when you think about them. Now ask yourself, what am I doing about it? Not what am I hoping will happen? Not what I wish someone would do for me, but what am I actually doing with my own time and energy and focus to change it? If the answer is nothing, then you're waiting for a rescue that will never come. And every day you wait is another day stolen from the life you could be building. Every morning you wake up hoping things will magically improve is another morning you could have spent improving yourself. Every moment you spend wishing for different circumstances is a moment you could spend creating them. This doesn't mean you have to do everything alone. It doesn't mean you can't ask for help or learn from others or build a team around you. It means you stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop waiting for someone to believe in you before you believe in yourself. You become the person who takes the first step, who makes the first move, who decides that if it's going to happen because you made it happen. And when you live like this, when you truly own your life and your choices and your future, something beautiful happens. You stop blaming, you stop complaining, you stop playing the victim, because victims wait for rescue. But you're not a victim anymore. You're a creator, you're a builder. You're someone who takes broken pieces and makes something whole. Someone who takes obstacles and makes them opportunities. Someone who takes nothing and makes it something. The power was always yours. The strength was always there. The capability was never missing. You just had to stop waiting long enough to use it. So stop waiting, start building, start moving, start becoming, because nobody's coming to save you, and thank God for that, because now you get to save yourself. And that's when the real transformation begins. Take a moment and claim this truth. Write in the comments, "I am the architect of my own life." Number 5. Pain is the price of admission, not a sign you're on the wrong path. You're going to hurt. Let's be clear about that right now. You're going to wake up sore. You're going to face rejection. You're going to fail at things that matter to you. You're going to push yourself and wonder if you're pushing too hard. You're going to look at how far you still have to go and feel overwhelmed. You're going to doubt yourself. You're going to be tired. You're going to want to quit. And in those moments, you'll face a critical choice. You can interpret the pain as evidence that something's wrong, that you're not meant for this, that you should give up and find an easier path. Or you can interpret it correctly, as proof that you're growing, that you're stretching beyond your old limits, that you're becoming someone new. Most people choose the first interpretation. They feel discomfort and assume it means stop. They encounter difficulty and read it as a sign they're moving in the wrong direction. So they quit. They go back to what's comfortable. They tell themselves they tried, and it just wasn't meant to be. And they spend the rest of their lives wondering what could have been if they'd just pushed through. But the people who achieve extraordinary things, they understand pain differently. They don't enjoy it. They're not masochists who love suffering. They simply recognize that pain is information. It's feedback. It's your body and mind adapting to new demands. It's the growing pains of transformation. And instead of running from it, they lean into it. They learn from it. They let it forge them into something stronger. Think about anyone who's ever accomplished something difficult. The athlete who broke records, the artist who created masterpieces, the entrepreneur who built something from nothing, the student who earned their degree against all odds. Did they glide effortlessly to success? Did everything come easy? Nah. They suffered, they struggled, they failed repeatedly, but they kept going because they understood that pain wasn't a detour, it was the path. The Stoics had a practice called voluntary discomfort. They would intentionally put themselves through hardship to build resilience. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." They knew that avoiding pain makes you fragile. Facing pain makes you formidable. The question isn't whether you'll face pain on the journey to your goals. The question is whether you'll quit when you do. Here's what you need to understand. Easy paths lead to easy places. If you want an extraordinary life, you have to be willing to walk an extraordinary path. And extraordinary paths are paved with discomfort, uncertainty, and sacrifice. They require you to do things when you don't feel like doing them. They demand you keep going when every fiber of your being wants to stop. They ask you to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. But here's the beautiful part. Pain is temporary. The person you become by pushing through it is permanent. The strength you build, the character you develop, the confidence you gain from proving to yourself that you can handle hard things, that stays with you forever. 6 months of pain can give you 60 years of power. 1 year of struggle can set up a lifetime of strength. So when you're in the middle of it, when everything hurts and nothing seems to be working, and you're wondering if you made a mistake, remember this: you're exactly where you're supposed to be. The pain isn't punishment. It's preparation. It's sculpting you into someone capable of holding the dream you're chasing. It's teaching you lessons you can't learn in comfort. It's building muscles, mental and physical, that you'll need for what's coming next. Don't misunderstand. There's a difference between productive pain and destructive pain, between growth that challenges you and harm that damages you. You have to be wise enough to know the difference. But most people aren't quitting because they're being harmed. They're quitting because they're being challenged. They're stopping because it's hard, not because it's hurting them. If your dream was easy, everyone would have it. If your goal required no sacrifice, it wouldn't be worth achieving. If your journey demanded no courage, you wouldn't grow from walking it. The difficulty is the point. The struggle is the teacher. The pain is the price of admission to a life most people will never experience because they weren't willing to pay it. So, pay it. Embrace the discomfort. Welcome the challenge. Let the pain refine you instead of define you. Because on the other side of this temporary struggle is a permanent version of you that's stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. If this resonates with you, Prove it. Type in the comments, "My pain is building my power." Number 6. Your daily actions are votes for the person you're becoming. Every single thing you do today is a vote for or against the person you say you want to become. Every choice, no matter how small it seems, is casting a ballot in the election of your future self. And the winner isn't determined by what you wish for or hope for or plan for. It's determined by how you vote, action by action, moment by moment, day by day. You say you want to be healthy, but you voted against it when you chose the easy meal over the nourishing one. You say you want to be disciplined, but you voted against it when you hit snooze instead of getting up. You say you want to be successful, but you voted against it when you chose distraction over focused work. And here's the thing about these votes: they count. Every single one of them counts. Most people think that one choice doesn't matter. One missed workout, one day of procrastination, one moment of weakness. They tell themselves it's just this once and tomorrow they'll do better. But your brain is keeping score. Your body is keeping records. Your character is being shaped by the accumulation of all these tiny decisions. And what you practice, you become. You don't become disciplined by thinking about discipline. You become disciplined by making disciplined choices repeatedly until discipline becomes who you are. You don't become strong by wanting to be strong. You become strong by doing strong things over and over until strength is your default. You don't become successful by dreaming about success. You become successful by taking successful actions consistently until success is inevitable. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. He knew that your identity isn't formed by your intentions, it's formed by your actions. Who you are today is the sum total of what you've done repeatedly, and who you'll be tomorrow is being decided by what you're doing right now. Think about the person you want to become, the healthiest version of yourself, the most focused version, the most successful version, the version that lives the life you dream about. Now ask yourself, what would that person do today? How would they spend their morning? What choices would they make when faced with comfort versus growth? How would they respond to difficulty? What actions would they take that you're not taking? The gap between who you are and who you want to be isn't as wide as you think. It's not crossed by dramatic transformations or overnight changes. It's crossed by small, consistent votes in the right direction. By choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. By doing today what will make tomorrow better. By showing up for yourself even when nobody's watching. Every time you do what you said you'd do, you're voting for integrity. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you're voting for strength. Every time you push through when you want to quit, you're voting for resilience. And slowly, vote by vote, those ballots add up. They tip the scales. They transform you from someone who wants to change into someone who has changed. But it works the other way too. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you're voting for weakness. Every time you choose the easy path, you're voting for mediocrity. Every time you give up when things get hard, you're voting for a smaller life. And those votes count just as much as the positive ones. Maybe more, because they're training your brain that your word doesn't mean anything, that your commitments are negotiable, that you can't be trusted to follow through. So which person are you voting for today? The one who makes excuses or the one who makes progress? The one who waits for perfect conditions or the one who works with what they have? The one who talks about their dreams or the one who builds them? Because that person you're voting for, that's who you're going to wake up as tomorrow, and next week, and next year. You don't need to win every vote. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have bad days. You're going to vote wrong sometimes. But you need to win more votes than you lose. You need the majority of your daily actions to align with the future you're trying to create. That's how change happens. That's how transformation occurs. Not in one grand moment, but in 1,000 tiny moments where you chose who you were becoming. Your life is an election, and you're the only one voting. So choose wisely, vote often, vote with your actions, not just your words. Because the person you'll be a year from now is being elected by the choices you're making today. Make sure you're voting for someone you'll be proud to become. Let me see your commitment. Drop this affirmation below. Every action is a vote for my future self. Number 7. The distance between dreams and reality is called work. You have a picture in your mind, a vision of what your life could be. Maybe it's financial freedom. Maybe it's a body that's strong and healthy. Maybe it's a skill you've mastered. Maybe it's a relationship that's deep and meaningful. Maybe it's a business you've built. Maybe it's a version of yourself that's confident and capable and living without regret. That picture is beautiful. That dream is valid. That vision matters. But here's what nobody wants to tell you. That picture in your mind, it's on one side of a canyon, and you're standing on the other side. And the only bridge that crosses from where you are to where you want to be is built from one material and one material only: work. Hard, unglamorous, repetitive, sometimes boring, often frustrating work. There's no shortcut. There's no secret hack. There's no magic formula that lets you skip the bridge and teleport to the other side. Every single person who has ever turned their dreams into reality walked across that same bridge. They put in the hours, they made the sacrifices, they did the things that needed to be done, whether they felt like it or not. And most importantly, they kept walking even when the bridge seemed endless. You want to know why most dreams die? Not because they were impossible, not because people weren't capable, but because somewhere in the middle of building that bridge, people looked down. They saw how much work was still ahead. They felt tired, they got discouraged, and they convinced themselves that maybe the dream wasn't worth it. Maybe they weren't meant for it. Maybe they should just stay on this side where it's safe and familiar. But the people who make it across, they understand something crucial. They understand that the dream doesn't come to you. You have to go to it. You have to lay down one plank at a time. You have to take one step after another. You have to show up day after day, doing the work even when you can't see how far you've come, especially when you can't see how far you've come. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Well-being is realized by small steps, but is truly no small thing." He ruled an empire, yet he understood that even the greatest achievements are built through small, consistent actions. Not through wishing, not through waiting, through working. Think about what you want. Really think about it. Now think about what you did today to get closer to it. Did you practice the skill you need to develop? Did you take care of the body that has to carry you there? Did you invest time in learning what you need to know? Did you do the uncomfortable thing that moves you forward? Or did you spend today the same way you spent yesterday, hoping somehow that tomorrow will be different? The universe doesn't reward hope. It doesn't respond to wishes. It responds to action. It responds to effort. It responds to people who are willing to do today what others won't, so they can live tomorrow how others can't. And that's not unfair. That's not harsh. That's just reality. The distance between dreams and reality is measured in work, and only work can close that gap. But here's the beautiful part. Every single day you work, that gap gets smaller. Every hour you invest, that bridge gets longer. Every sacrifice you make, that dream gets closer. You might not see it happening. You might not feel the progress. But it's happening. The gap is closing. The bridge is building. The dream is approaching, and one day you'll take a step and realize you're not on your side of the canyon anymore. You're not separated from your dream. You're living it. You've become the person you only imagined being. You've built the life you only hoped was possible. And when you look back at the bridge you built, when you see how much work it took, you won't regret a single step. You'll only wish you'd started sooner. So, start today. Start now. Stop looking at the gap and start building the bridge. Stop measuring the distance and start closing it. Stop dreaming about who you could be and start working on becoming them. Because dreams without work are just fantasies, but dreams with work become realities, and you get to choose which one yours will be. The gap is there. It's real. It's not going to disappear on its own, but you can cross it. One day of work at a time, one choice at a time, one step at a time, until the day you realize there is no gap anymore. There's just you, standing on the other side, living the dream you were brave enough to work for. Number 8. Silence the noise and listen to what you already know. You already know what you need to do. Deep down, beneath all the confusion and doubt and overthinking, you know exactly what step you need to take next. You know what habits are holding you back. You know what dreams you've been ignoring. You know what conversations you've been avoiding. You know what work you've been postponing. You know. But instead of listening to that knowing, instead of trusting that inner voice, you do something else. You seek more opinions. You consume more content. You wait for more signs. You look for more validation. You search for the perfect plan, the perfect moment, the perfect feeling. And in all that searching, you drown out the only voice that actually matters, the one inside you that's been telling you the truth all along. The world is loud. Everyone has advice. Everyone has an opinion about what you should do, who you should be, what path you should take. And most of it, even when it's well-meaning, is noise. It's distraction. It's other people's fears and limitations and experiences being projected onto your unique journey. And the more you listen to it, the further you get from your own truth. Here's what happens when you fill your mind with external noise. You forget how to hear yourself. You lose touch with your own instincts. You start doubting what you know to be true because someone else said something different. You become paralyzed by conflicting information. You spend so much time learning about the path that you never actually walk it. But the people who achieve their dreams, who build lives of meaning and purpose, they have one thing in common. They learned to trust themselves. They learned to filter out the noise and listen to the signal. They learned that clarity doesn't come from consuming more information. It comes from creating space for the wisdom that already lives inside them. Seneca wrote, "Everybody agrees that no one pursuit can be successfully followed by a person who is busied with many things." He wasn't just talking about tasks. He was talking about mental clutter, about trying to absorb every piece of advice, follow every trend, chase every opportunity. True focus requires silencing the noise and committing to what you know is right for you. Think about the last time you made a decision that felt truly aligned. Not because someone told you it was the right move, not because it looked good on paper, but because something inside you said, yes, this is the way. That feeling, that knowing, it's still there. It's always there. You just have to stop drowning it out. You don't need another course. You don't need another book. You don't need another guru telling you their secrets. You need silence. You need stillness. You need moments where you turn off the noise and ask yourself the hard questions. What do I actually want? What am I afraid of? What am I avoiding? What do I already know I need to do? And then you need the courage to listen to the answers. Because here's the truth. You're not confused. You're scared. You're not looking for information. You're looking for permission. You're not waiting for the right answer. You're waiting for someone to tell you that you won't fail, that it'll be easy, that it's guaranteed to work. But nobody can give you that. And waiting for it is just another way of not starting. Your inner voice knows what you're capable of. It knows what lights you up. It knows what needs to change. It knows what you've been pretending not to know. And every day you ignore it, you're training yourself not to trust yourself. You're teaching yourself that your own wisdom isn't valuable, that other people know better than you do about your own life. Stop doing that. Start listening. Create space in your day where there's no input, just reflection. Where there's no consumption, just contemplation. Where you're not filling your mind with other people's thoughts, but exploring your own. Take a walk without your phone. Sit in silence for 10 minutes. Write down what you're thinking without editing it. Just listen to yourself. You'll be surprised what you hear. You'll realize you've known the answer all along. You've known what you need to do. You've known what path to take. You've known who you need to become. You just haven't been listening. You've been too busy seeking external validation for something that can only be validated internally. The noise will always be there. The opinions will never stop. The advice will keep coming. But your life isn't built by following everyone else's map. It's built by trusting your own compass. So turn down the volume on everything outside and turn up the volume on what's inside. Because that voice, the one that's been trying to guide you all along, that's the only one that knows where you're truly meant to go. Number 9. The version of you that quits today will regret it tomorrow. There's a version of you standing at a crossroads right now. One path leads forward into discomfort, uncertainty, and continued effort. The other path leads back to comfort, familiarity, and giving up on what you said you wanted. And I need you to understand something before you choose. The version of you that takes the easy path, that quits today, that decides it's too hard or too long or too much, that version of you will wake up tomorrow with regret. Not immediate regret. At first, quitting feels like relief. The pressure is off. The struggle is over. You can relax. You can tell yourself you tried, and that's enough. You can convince yourself that maybe it wasn't meant to be. And for a day, maybe a week, maybe even a month, you'll feel okay about that decision. But then something will happen. You'll see someone else accomplish what you gave up on. You'll remember why you started in the first place. You'll have a quiet moment where you're honest with yourself, and you'll realize you didn't quit because it was impossible. You quit because it was hard. And that realization will haunt you, not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, persistently, like a whisper you can never fully silence. Future you is watching the decision you're about to make. They're hoping you choose them. They're hoping you love them enough to do what's hard today so they can live better tomorrow. They're hoping you're strong enough to push through this moment of weakness, because they have to live with the consequences of whatever you decide right now. Every person who's ever quit something important knows this pain. The pain of wondering what could have been. The pain of watching others succeed where you gave up. The pain of knowing you were closer than you thought, but you'll never know how close because you stopped walking. And that pain, the pain of regret, it lasts so much longer than the temporary pain of pushing through. Epictetus taught his students, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" He was asking them to stop postponing their own excellence, stop making excuses, stop waiting for it to get easier, because it doesn't get easier. You get stronger, but only if you stay in the game long enough to build that strength. Think about every hard thing you've ever completed, every challenge you pushed through when you wanted to quit. How do you feel about those accomplishments now? Proud, right? Grateful that you didn't give up. Those are the moments that define you. Those are the experiences that taught you what you're made of. And you only have them because you chose to keep going when quitting felt easier. Now think about the things you quit, the goals you abandoned, the dreams you let die. How do those feel? Even if you've made peace with them, even if you've moved on, there's still something there, isn't there? A small ache, a quiet question of what if. That's the price of quitting, and it's a price you pay not once, But over and over, every time you think about it, you're tired. I know. You're frustrated. I understand. You're wondering if this effort will ever pay off. I get it. But here's what you need to hear. The tiredness is temporary. The frustration will pass. The uncertainty will resolve. But if you quit, that decision is permanent. You can't go back and undo it. You can't reclaim the time you lost. You can only start over if you find the courage to start again. And starting over is always harder than continuing, because you have to carry the weight of knowing you quit before. You have to overcome not just the challenge itself, but your own history of giving up. You have to prove to yourself that this time is different. Why do that to yourself? Why create that extra burden? Why not just keep going now and save yourself from that future struggle? The you of tomorrow is counting on the you of today. They need you to be strong right now. They need you to push through this moment. They need you to remember why you started and choose to keep going, because they don't want to live with regret. They don't want to wonder what could have been. They want to live the life you're building with every hard choice you make today. So don't quit. Not today. Not when you've come this far. Not when you're closer than you think. Not when future you is begging you to keep going. Stay in it. Push through it. Prove to yourself that you're not someone who gives up when it gets hard. Prove that you're someone who finishes what they start. Because that person, the one who keeps going, they're the one who gets to live without regret. So here we are, at the end of this message and the beginning of your next chapter. Everything we've talked about, every truth we've explored, every challenge we've faced together, it all comes down to one question. What are you going to do tomorrow morning when that alarm goes off? Are you going to wake up and work hard at it? Or are you going to hit snooze on your dreams one more time? Are you going to vote for the person you want to become? Or are you going to vote for comfort? Are you going to trust what you know inside? Or are you going to drown it out with more noise and more excuses? Because the truth is, nothing changes until you change. The world isn't going to hand you the life you want. Time isn't going to slow down and wait for you to feel ready. Your dreams aren't going to build themselves. You have to do it. Starting tomorrow. Starting today. Starting right now. You have everything you need. You always did. The strength, the capability, the power to transform your life. It's been inside you all along. You just have to choose to use it. You have to wake up and work hard at it. Every single day, until the person you're becoming meets the person you've always been meant to be. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your life. Don't waste another day waiting for permission. Don't waste another morning choosing comfort over growth. Don't waste another year wondering what could have been. Wake up, work hard at it, and watch your life transform. Before you go, hit that like button, drop a comment and tell me what you're committing to. Share this video with someone who needs it. Subscribe to this channel. We're building something powerful here, and I want you to be part of it. Now go. Your future is waiting, and it's time to get to work.